medically supervised, and do not require insurance. Velocity recognizes your time is valuable, so they offer compensation for study-related time and travel. Find out more at velocityclinicaltrials.com.
Drivers who switch and save with Progressive could save hundreds, which could be life-changing. I mean, you could put that money towards that zero-turn lawnmower you've always wanted. And after using its edge-shaping technology to meticulously sculpt the face of the Mona Lisa into your grass, you'll become the undisputed king of Saturday morning lawn care, leaving your neighbor and sworn enemy Gary to question his place in the delicate neighborhood ecosystem. And it's all because you could save money switching at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in all states.
I'm Taylor Bisciotti with NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network. The Saints announcing a quarterback change Wednesday. Rookie Spencer Rattler will get the start Sunday against the Buccaneers after losing Derek Carr for multiple weeks with an oblique injury. Rattler will be the fifth rookie quarterback to start a game in 2024. The Raiders also announcing a change at quarterback. Aiden O'Connell is replacing Gardner Minshew as the starter Sunday against the Steelers. O'Connell started 10 games for the Raiders as a rookie last season. Meantime, the Texans will be without wide receiver Nico Collins for at least 4 weeks after the team announced he's been placed on injured reserve with a hamstring injury. And the Eagles getting some good news coming off their bye week. Wide receivers Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown both returned to practice Wednesday as full participants. Brown missed 3 games with a hamstring injury, and Smith missed week 4 with a concussion. This has been NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network.
All right, gentlemen, this is Emmett Smith on behalf of The Pen, and I've got the perfect play. Run straight to your doctor's office for a life-changing catch. Because when prostate cancer is caught early, it's up to 99% treatable, and 1 blood test might be all it takes. And now through November, The Pen is donating to the Prostate Cancer Foundation for select purchases. Talk about a great play.
From September 1st to November 30th, Depend is donating 40 cents to the Prostate Cancer Foundation for Depend Shield Guards RealFit products purchased in the U.S. up to a maximum of $300,000 void in Mississippi.
Are you the parent of a 2 to 7-year-old? Listen closely for an exciting free radio offer. By now, you've probably heard of ABC Mouse, the Parents' Choice Award-winning online learning program that's actually changing the lives of early learners everywhere.
ABC Mouse is like a little one-on-one teacher. It has helped her so much.
Right now, we're offering a special radio promo to try it free for a month, but you have to go to abcmouse.com/radio to claim your free month. That's abcmouse.com/radio.
Sponsored by Age of
Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. EquitableOnline.com.
Craving some authentic gumbo this fall? Join us for Gumbo Days at Shucks Fish House this Monday through Wednesday. Enjoy a cup or a bowl, sample 3 for all 5 selections at any of our 3 locations. Check out shucksfishhouse.com for all the details.
Dungeon of the Damned.
Located in the basement dungeon of Hollywood Candy.
Enter only if you dare.
1209 Jackson Street. Google rankings says Dungeons of the Damned is Omaha's highest rated haunted house.
Dungeon of the Damned.
Now open Thursday through Sunday. Tickets at dungeonsofthedamned.com. Between 5:30 and 6, bring the little kids to experience the dungeon before the scarers awake, or for adults too afraid to face the dungeon master at night.
Roofing, siding, and gutters. Make the right call with the rooferees at John Higgins Weather Guard.
1620 The Zone.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome in on a Thursday. Absent from Jimmy's collaboration of all of the calls last night was one Bob Costas. But don't you fear, we will talk about the voice of a generation last night.
His own deal.
Oh, boy. Good morning, everybody. It is a Thursday, another scintillating day of baseball. The last day of the year, we have 4 baseball games. Thank God for the pitch clock.
Thank God, indeed.
Whoa. Already jumping in. I haven't even introduced you. We have a new voice on the show this morning.
Yeah.
So Nick is away.
Because Cleveland lost.
Yeah, because Cleveland lost.
And they're going to lose today.
Whoa, they got Tanner Beebe pitching today.
Yeah.
Whoa,
That'd
Nick,
be nice.
Nick. The show hasn't been on for a minute, and Nick is catching strays because his team lost, and the Gritty Kitties are a one win away from the ALCS. But Nick is out for the next couple of days, so Matt McMaster is joining us.
Hi, everybody.
Straight from Boston.
No,
People
wrong blue collar city. Try again.
People will be able to tell before the end of the show tomorrow that you are from Boston. Very proud New Englander. That is
no.
Nebraska guy.
Nope.
Bye week. Back in town. Right.
Try
Husker
again.
Max used to be the voice of practice reports on 1620 The Zone.
A wicked winner. I'm from Chicago. I'm not from Boston.
Jimmy, can you tell that he's from Chicago?
Oh,
I don't know.
no,
I thought it was Boston.
I thought
it was a little bit like Boston. Your parents are from New York.
No,
We're going to reminisce about the
absolutely
04
not.
Sox.
Okay. I was just trying. I mean,
Som Squat, the Hava. I mean, I can
See,
do
he's
it.
got it.
If you want me to do it, I can do it. I mean, look, the Chicago accent is a distant cousin. I wouldn't even say distant. Is a second cousin to the Boston accent. I can be that. I'm a chameleon. I will be whatever you want me to
I got
be.
my cup of Dunkin' this
my
morning.
Dunkin'. Can you pocked it? I pocked it and I unpocked it. I mean, you know that commercial that the Smart Pock.
Yeah.
I mean, look, whatever gets the ratings up. If I need to be Chris Evans meets Ben Affleck meets Matt Damon, I'll be that for the show.
I'm here for this.
All right. Good morning. We're glad to have you.
Morning. Thank you. I'm happy to be here. Very, very happy to be here.
Welcome
It's going to
back.
be a ton of fun.
Give a little people a little background because people do kind of recognize your voice. Know
It's
your
nice to
work
put
at
a face with the voice.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Jimmy. I'm from Chicago, went to the University of Nebraska, Lincoln, over the last 4 years from 2020 to 2024. I started working with NRG Partner.
Yeah, you are a alum of our sister station.
Yes,
Lincoln.
1499.3 KLIN.
He used to work there once.
Yeah, no, I'm aware. I've been told
Hey, so-
all about it. I've
Hey.
been told about the original 6 crew
Yes.
of KLIN and how you guys just changed the world. And I would not be where I am today without the incredible hard work of multiple people, including Gary Sharp. Jimmy, I've been told that all the time.
Oh, I'm sure.
all
Oh,
the
yeah.
time. So I worked there.
Is that some sarcasm there?
No.
Is our picture still up in the
Me?
lobby?
Heck no.
Jerseys.
Amy Graham had that removed as soon as you left.
Damn.
You laughed and she goes, get the ugly guy off the wall. Oh, anyway, worked there for 2 years.
Yeah.
Did the practice reports that over the last year had been on this station, and then
Well, they're still on the station. They just
yeah.
don't include your voice.
they're not, it's not my voice anymore. And then I just annoyed the athletic department for about a year and just kind of did my thing. And then now I'm back in Chicago writing for Husker Max, doing articles. This is a bye week, so I've just got time to spare. I don't really have a ton to do.
And you bug the crap out of me.
And I bug the ever-living crap out of you. So now I've bugged the crap out of you to the point where you're like, yeah, I get it.
Yeah. And now Jimmy and I are stuck with you for 2 days.
Good for you guys, man.
I was excited because I knew the name. So.
Thank you, Jimmy. See? This is big.
I'm excited too.
I'm a big deal. I don't know if you know that. I don't know if I got a lot of leather-bound books.
All right,
I don't
Gary,
know
I'll
if you
stop.
know.
So I've heard you're a big deal because Jimmy, you'll like this. So we're texting back and forth, and he's got a lot of things on his mind about Nebraska football that he'd like to get out in the bye week. And one of the first things he texted me is, "This will be the first time I've been in Omaha sober."
Yeah,
That's what I said when I moved here.
I've been here about half a dozen times.
Yeah.
All of them not to be professional. I mean,
That's
College
okay.
World Series.
That's how it used to be for me.
CHI Health Center.
You're a young kid.
Luke Combs. WWE SmackDown, WWE Raw, like just great. Hey, those are great events. I have a great time here. This is my first time here sober.
That's good.
So I don't know. I don't know what to do.
We are appreciative of that, but not that we would be offended if you were
have beer.
sober on the show.
I mean, look, if we wanted to change that, I mean, I'm not opposed. But no, I don't know what to do. Everybody tells me like go to the zoo. The zoo's great. The zoo's that's all I ever
Dunn
hear.
went there once.
What?
Livy Dunn went there.
See, I don't get the zoo. I've been there before. I've been to a zoo before.
What does that mean? I don't get the zoo. Like,
I'm not a zoo guy. I don't like
to go there and see like a band.
Look, I feel like I go to a zoo. I've been to a zoo before. I've been to a zoo before.
You're
you
from
go
a city
once.
that has the world famous Lincoln Park or Brookfield Zoo.
Brookfield's way better, but you go there. You see the animals scratch their ass, and then it's just you're done. You're over.
It's kind of like
that's
working
it.
here.
Yeah,
that's true.
It's like watching Gary Sharp do radio. You watch it happen. You're like, this is. I get why people like it. There's nothing special about it, and then you don't.
You got an itch, you got to scratch.
Yeah, and then you don't listen or watch or go back to the zoo for like 8 years until your girlfriend's like, "Oh my God, let's go."
Then
you
say
go.
Yes. And when she wants a stuffed animal, you get her one.
Hey, you've done a great job for our partnership with the Henry Doyley Zoo.
Oh.
my sponsoring a penguin is probably going to be expired today.
He's trying to get an animal in studio, and that just sailed away today.
See, we have a lot of people, like...
Are you trying to get Will Ferrell in here with the to bring in the pets, to bring in the orangutan? And no, you're okay?
No.
I don't know. That's the only thing I've been told about what to do in Omaha. If there are people on the text line
there are more
who are like... Because I have a couple hours today, at some point, on my own, to just go and do whatever the heck I want. If people have suggestions, I would absolutely... love it. Absolutely adore it.
They can interact with you on the stream.
I know.
Yeah.
I know what crowd
community.
I'm playing to, Gary. I know how to do this. That's what I'm saying. I'm encouraging people to interact with our show. I may be young, but I'm not stupid. All right.
How young are you?
22.
Okay, that's okay.
22. Damn, I missed 22. I was good at it.
So I got to tell you a quick one before I say good morning to the blurry-eyed Royals fans that everybody on my timeline last night appeared to be at the K, which was absolutely electric until about the 8th inning. So that drive back on Interstate 29 where it seemed like everybody knows everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be some blurry-eyed little stragglers today. Because there was delirium at the K and then there was disappointment.
You think a lot of them are driving back and you think a lot of them are doing the doubleheader?
No.
You don't?
No, I know a lot of people that went down because the game got over, 9:30 last night?
Yeah.
Thank God for the pitch clock. Whew, that Dodger-Padre game, which turned into a slog, could have been much worse. By the way, the Dodgers and the Padres are going to play Game 5 on Friday night in LA.
Okay with it.
But a lot of people went down because you could, you're with traffic by the time you get out of the parking lot. And it was the second time this year that the K had been sold out, which is kind of odd, but that's for a whole nother discussion. Hopefully that's not the conversation we have next year.
Sure.
But, you get out of the parking lot, let's say you're 10:15. Yeah, you're back in Omaha by 2. You get a little sleep in, you go to work.
But I was just saying, I'm surprised
maybe
you don't do like you get a hotel down there. And you're like, oh, I'm taking Wednesday and Thursday off.
Not everybody
because you don't get that many.
Comes from a family that you did.
I don't mean.
Oh, it's like if you're well-to-do, you can do both games today.
Well, here's the thing. I just say that point just because, and I don't mean to sound pretentious, as a Cubs fan who has bared the fruit of incredible labor. And
we need to keep our team out of this discussion. Just keep it moving.
Just real quick. I mean, you don't get a lot of Kansas City Royals playoff games. I mean, if you have the means. Yeah. To go down once. Why don't just stay around a little bit, Take out a small loan.
To be fair, I am with Matt. We would stay down there if that were the
case.
I
mean, just do the 2 games. Have a good time.
We're already broke. Let's be more broke.
Exactly. Thank you, Jimmy. Jimmy's right on cue with me right now. You're not going to get, you don't know when you're going to get another one of these, right? Back in 2015, 16, 17, 18.
You get many more.
You never know.
Royals fans are hoping you at least
he might be a Yankee in a couple years.
Oh,
I'm kidding. He signed the big contract.
He'll be a Cub when he turns 37. He's at the end of his contract.
Yeah, he will. Yeah. He'll do that too. What weird team does Bobby Wood Jr. end up with at the end of his career? I think he's a Red. I mean, that's my bet.
I like that.
There is the ticket market last night as the game got closer, and there were some people that were paying more to go to Game 3 at the K last night than they did for the World Series in 15.
Yeah.
The ticket market started to drop, and I even think today because that's a game.
I'm checking right now.
That's a game when you rally, you have to win. Okay,
I totally agree.
You have to win that game when you get it 2-2 and you're playing at home and the place is going nuts. You got to find a way to win that game because the Yankees don't scare you. Okay, but the Yankees are weird. I mean, Stanton stole a base last night and hit a home run, but it's not his fault that the Royals
It's
lost.
not his fault. It's not his fault.
124 on tickets for less. That's doable.
Okay, so but it's dropped a little bit.
$88 if you want to be cheapest ticket in the house.
Okay, so the ticket market has dropped a little bit, but that's a game last night you have to win. Like you get it to 2-2, the place is going nuts, and then you got a guy coming out of the bullpen that used to be one of you in Weaver and a home run, and it's only one game, and they get to face Cole today. Walker and Cole, probably Walker Lynch against Cole, and however long starters go, which sometimes might only be 2 innings, some might be 4.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like last night, and I said the series wasn't going back to Yankee Stadium, and I'm going to be wrong. I'm going to be wrong here, and I admit it because
you say gonna be. You are wrong. You are incorrect.
Well, if the Mr. Math over there, if the Yankees win tonight, the series ain't going back to Yankee Stadium with the Royals.
You said it in the. You said
you'd be right.
You'd be right. There you go. See it now. I'm wrong. Look at that. Look how that works.
I mean, you're going to learn well. You got to admit that you're wrong in this business.
Here's the thing. I think that Garrett Cole is a very good pitcher. He's a very good pitcher, but I feel like the name at this point is more scary than the actual product. I think that we've all kind of reached that sentiment at this point, and it's playoff baseball, right? You and I wish I was here when you said that ridiculous statement.
How was it ridiculous?
How can you call a series done after 2 games?
Because I
you
don't
of all
fear the
people,
Yankees. I don't fear the Yankees.
You of all people who know baseball probably better in terms of just the actual psychological mindset of it. Better than most people considering your history. I'm not rubbing up to you. I'm not kissing your ass. I'm telling you straight up, based on what you've done in your career, you of all people should know better that to call a series done after 2 games is the most ridiculous sentiment. You've said a lot of stupid stuff in your career. It's up there.
Wow.
I mean, it's bad.
22 and he's just coming right after you.
2 games, you go, it's over.
Aren't you glad that we just met?
Yeah.
Met in the parking lot.
Yeah.
You just pulled me off the street.
No, it just feels like last night that's a game you have to win.
Oh, no, I totally agree.
And
You're
now,
absolutely right.
And now, not like the Royals can't win 2 in a row, but you are facing Cole. Yeah, I agree with you. He's not the Garrett Cole prime, but it's still Garrett Cole.
A good pitcher. Absolutely.
And who knows if Judge is going to break out. But most importantly for the Royals, they got to stop walking people.
Mm-hmm.
And they got to find a way to get Bobby Witt Jr. and Vinny P going.
When you're
Massey can't be Massey and the Fraziers of the world and the Garcias can't be the reason why you've got it to game 4 and you still have a chance.
You can't win playoff series when consistently it's the 4th and 5th inning and your pitcher's at 85 pitches.
Yeah, I mean Lugo was not effective last night.
No,
but I don't know if aces are effective in the postseason anymore. I watched the Dodgers. The Dodgers, who spend a ton of money, last night used 8 pitchers to throw a shutout, or actually 9 pitchers. I think it was 9 pitchers to throw a shutout against the Padres to keep their season alive. A bullpen game. The Tigers are just trying to string things together before Scooble pitches.
Sure.
I mean, the pitching has changed, but Garrett Cole is still Garrett Cole. But Michael Wacha, well, I mean, they won't. He won't be along for a while. I mean, he won't stay in for a while if he's struggling. I don't know. Last night was one of those nights when you are behind, and we've all been in ballparks and arenas where the home team and things aren't going, and then you get the tension convention. You go from a great vibe to the tension convention. And then you get back in the game and the place is rocking. And you're like, oh, it just has the feel. Because the Royals have done this before. I mean, Jesus, they were 50 games under 500. They went from 50 games under 500 to having a home playoff game last night for the first time in 9 years. And the place was electric to Stanton, of all people. I don't know if people realize this with Costas' call, hit a home run last night. And you lose 3-2. And it feels like,
it was silent when the game was over.
It was
weird.
I'll say this, though. Momentum is everything in baseball. We're seeing that play out.
Thank you, Casey Stengel.
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
I knew that.
He invented the chain of convenience stores.
Jimmy, before we wrap up this first break, I'll tell you how me and young man over there met.
Game momentum. We're seeing it play out with the Phillies. All 3 of us know, and everyone listening to this know, and every Kansas City fan knows that right now they don't have the momentum. All the momentum lies with the New York Yankees.
Momentum
But
is the next day starting pitcher.
Knowing though about that market and knowing about how stressed out those people can get, you're just one win away tomorrow from getting back that momentum, because you don't think there's going to be a lot of pressure on the Yankees going back to New York, going back to the Bronx to close out that series. You win tonight, it's all back in your favor, because they're the ones with the pressure.
Would be right.
They are the ones. No. You would be right. You would be wrong. You'd still be wrong. We'd get back to that later. But they would be the ones where it's all on them now. Where Kansas City, I would almost say at this point, what do they got to lose? The Yankees are they've got the better record. They got the better roster. They've spent way more money. They're the ones with all the expectations. You walk into this series as the underdog. Now, if you're able to pull off a win, which crazier things have happened tonight at your home stadium, you go back and you're the Miracle Mets. You're the kids again. You're the ones who's got everything. So I think the pressure is firmly on the Yankees tonight to close this out now, because the last thing you want to give a dying dog is another life.
Game 4 is tonight, and you should be able to hear it. So we're going to get into Bob Costas, because I think Sochi Pink Eye Bob Costas showed up last night.
Guy crossed my mind.
Guy can't see. But the Royals broadcast. So I was in the car about the 5th inning, and I turned on 1180, and it was just like...
Where you pass 156. Oh, no, you're on 1180.
I was like, something is up here. I was like, maybe the signal, maybe we went off the air, don't know. But then got to the house, got inside, was able to watch the game. Didn't think anything of it. And then I was scrolling through Twitter. So the Royals radio network went off the air last night. They lost the connection from the stadium to the network control. And they were off the air for like 5 or 6 innings.
That's why when I was in the car last night with the satellite looking for the Royals broadcast, it says Royals broadcast, and I have John Sterling, which I did enjoy for an inning.
So the Royals radio network, something I don't know exactly what
if you're
happened.
If you're gonna get tossed a different opponent's announcer, John Sterling's a pretty good one to get tossed for sure. Someone's getting fired.
He's got better eyes than at 86 than Bob Costas, but
someone's getting fired, right?
Well, I don't know. I mean, the weird things happen. The squirrels don't get fed, so they stop running.
I think Costas was probably in the booth unplugging stuff because he wanted people to listen to him. He still wanted people to think he still had it, Bob, what are you doing in the booth, Bob? Bob, it's a commercial. You're on in 30 seconds. No, I'm not doing anything. It's no one's fault.
All right, Matt's in for Nick the next couple of days. Coming up at 8, Sarah Baker Hansen is back from Europe. So we will see how her trip was. Also, a lot of stuff going on in the food industry around here. Restaurants are closing. Some significant restaurants have closed up in the last couple of weeks. So we'll check in with SBH. Steve Sipple stops by at 8:30. You good with Sip?
Yeah, Sip and I are cool.
Well, you don't say that with a lot of conviction.
No,
anything
cool.
I should know?
I don't know. I'd have to think. I got a long history with a lot of people over there. I'll tell you if I pissed them off in some way.
22
at Husker Online or 93.7 The Ticket.
I don't know. I have no clue.
I mean, you're a bull in a china shop as a young kid trying to make a head in this business.
I think I put too many creamers in his coffee one time. I don't know. I think
Were you an
that's what
intern
made
for
him
Sip?
upset. No. I was just joking.
Did you park his
Which
car?
is why it was really weird.
He's got a great car. He does. He's got a really nice car. I've seen him pulling in that lot. I was like, man, Sip, that's a good ride. It's a really good ride, man. I'd love to work for Husker Online. Great ride. It's a great ride.
There are some people that can listen that might be able to help you.
Yeah.
Brian Edwards, our Vegas insider, will stop by a little bit later as well.
I'd be a terrible guy to have a conversation with Brian Edwards with. I might be the worst bettor in
Well, you let me know
America.
you haven't won a game in fantasy football this year.
I'm combined in 2 leagues, 1-9. It's embarrassing.
It's early.
It's embarrassing.
I mean, you could fire your head coach and still be able to salvage your season.
I played I sat Rashid Shaheed for like all of those weeks, for those first 2 weeks where he was incredible. And then the one week where he got 0 is when I played him.
So he has my luck.
And then I bench him again, and then he goes off for 20. And then I also got Olave on the roster. It's a whole, we don't need to do a segment on my terrible fantasy football managing skills, but it's bad. It's terrible. It's terrible.
He's just throwing himself under the bus.
No, my dad literally questions why I still play fantasy football. He literally, he tells me, he goes, Matt, you've been doing this for a while now. And I don't remember if you've ever made the playoffs. I don't remember a good run or anything like that. And now we're at the point where it's like, it used to be his buy-in money. Like, it used to be his money I bought in with. Now it's my own money that I'm buying in with. And he's like, save it.
Being an
He
adult.
literally told me, go, how many leagues are you in this year? I go 2. And he goes, okay, don't enter anymore. That's it. You don't need to be in a third league.
I've never met your parents. I've asked questions about them, but I'm a fan of your dad. That is the.
I'm a fan of my dad too. Pretty good guy.
And that's the main takeaway from this segment.
Yes. That is the lineup brought to you by the Rooferys at John Higgins Weather Guard. You can always get in touch with the program. Not sure with Matt over there where this conversation will go today, but he has told me he has lots of takes on Nebraska football.
I mean,
on the 5-1 vibe, where the only losses in overtime to a team that ranked.
Yeah, good team, great coach team.
Yes, great coach. I agree. I had to eat a lot of crow.
That's a convo. Like, where is Brett Bielema in Big Ten coach hierarchy? I say it's pretty damn high.
Yeah, say
I wouldn't disagree. Yeah,
I'd say like 2.
Well, if you just judge him when he plays against Nebraska, he'd be way up there. He might be number 1.
Be a Hall of Famer.
He does love himself some GBR.
The 42 Degree The Source hotline, 402-951-1620. You can also catch us on the Equitable Bank inbox where they take banking personally. Gary at 1620thezone.com.
What?
This is where you say your Twitter.
No. You don't need any emails.
Okay.
No.
Am I doing a live read? I'm sorry. Was I supposed to do something there? You're looking at me and you just stop talking.
No, because I was seeing what you were doing over there.
I'm promoting the show, Sharp. You tweeted about me. So I'm now going on my Twitter and my 519.
Just say Valles is awesome.
My Valles is awesome.
There you go. You just did a read.
My 519 Twitter followers are all on pins and needles right now.
Let's see if we can get to 520 before tomorrow.
So you want one
I
follower?
think he will.
I'm pretty sure bots follow me every single day.
Russian or
I don't
smash or pass.
Those types. Yeah.
Well, you're a good-looking young guy.
I appreciate that. Not a lot of people are like you.
The J-Tech Construction Zone Twitter feed at Gary Sharp 1620. This would be where you give your Twitter handle.
Matt McMedia. MattMcmedia. Feel like I'm at the DMV right now. Matt McMedia, go and give me a follow. I tweet riveting things that will change your life. And Moneyball memes. Both are not exclusive.
Look at that. You're about to get I don't think we follow you on the show, so you're going to get your 520.
Yeah.
There you go.
Jimmy, do you know who also didn't follow me? Who just followed me recently?
Gary Sharp.
Gary Sharp.
You guys just met.
My mentor, my guy. Someone who's helped me in my career tremendously.
Why would I follow you?
Why the question is, why wouldn't you follow me? To be or not to be? To be entertained or not to be entertained? Your life is more entertaining now that you follow me.
Probably it is.
Your life now is meaning. Congratulations.
Thank you.
There you go. There you go. Ridiculous. Like stabbed in the heart 2 weeks ago when I liked your tweet. And I was like, oh, I wonder how many followers Gary has. And I don't see the follows you right there.
Man, it's like when a relationship became Facebook official back in the day.
I'm like worn out after 30 minutes with this guy who I had to teach what the Big 12 conference was.
I heard about you then.
About 2 years ago.
You would have thought
part of me just got stabbed in the heart.
You would have thought I killed a baby in the presser or at the what do they call that thing?
The press box?
The press box at Memorial Stadium.
The big fancy pants.
Like I'm
the thing with the championships.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure John Bishop was having a heart attack in the conference when you go, all right, it's a Texas team. Someone in Texas, and Bishop literally's got both hands in his face like, why the hell are we hiring this guy?
Hey, you're gonna you're gonna have a long career in this business.
I don't know if that was sarcastic or if that was an actual compliment.
You're young.
Yeah,
that's a compliment.
Young Matt is what I'm known as, in part because of you.
Yes.
That's what people call me.
Old Jimmy and old Gary after 2 days with you. That's probably what we're going to be called.
Well, I mean, not after. You're just old Gary. I mean, you don't even have to be with me to get that sentiment. Damn.
Thank you. We'll talk about Bob Costas' night last night because if you were at the K, you did not get to listen to Bob Costas.
Yeah,
but
it was rough.
He'll have it will not be another good day for Bob Costas, but also the entire presentation on the BTN Plus that was trying to push itself off as a TBS broadcast last night.
I missed the RSTN.
Not good at all. Also, we do have NFL football tonight. The Niners and the Seahawks go at it, a key divisional game. And we're the halfway point of the season for Nebraska football, and we've got lots to discuss.
Lots.
Sarah Baker Hansen, Steve Sipple, and Brian Edwards all still to come. Matt McMaster in for Nick for the next couple of days. Jimmy is here as well. I'm Garrett's Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
So Matt said Vallis is awesome, and now you can see why it is. It's officially the most wonderful time of the year. Yeah, football season. Oh, wait. Vallis is open through November 3rd, has family fun you know and love, including 2 new ridges this year. Fraya's Egg Spinners. I'm going to guess that's Rides. Who wrote this? And Tim's Runaway Grain Train. Don't forget about the delicious foods like fresh pies, caramel apples, kettle corn, turkey legs, and more. If you missed your chance with the half-off deal, this is your last chance to score free passes into Vallis Pumpkin Patch, and fall weather is coming over the weekend and next week. Enter to win online only at 1620thezone.com.
As the sun comes up in the state of Florida, there will not be a pretty day. There will be a lot of destruction in the Tampa Bay area and a little bit south as Hurricane Milton made landfall yesterday. If you've not seen by now, you will see it plenty. The roof of Tropicana Field, which is home to the Tampa Bay Rays, was shredded last night.
And that was a shelter, wasn't it? They put a bunch of cots in there?
No, it's a staging area. So where the Trop is in St. Petersburg, there's a gigantic parking lot that is in front of it that they were having as a staging area for power vehicles and other things. And when the first responders were going to be working, they were going to be staying in the Trop. That's the cots that were set up. It was not like people that were evacuated that were put in there. But that roof, which is like a fiberglass, Teflon fiberglass that can withstand 115 mile an hour winds, was absolutely shredded last night. And then you have all the rain that is coming in, and they didn't have the field covered.
Yeah.
So it's just a turf field, and you got the stands. So that's not gonna be good at all. And that neighborhood where they are in St. Petersburg is a very low income neighborhood.
Oh.
Great sports bar right next to it called Ferg's. And that's what I was thinking about last time. Like, geez, Ferg's is probably not there. But the hurricane made landfall a little bit near Sarasota in a place called Siesta Key, which I thought about buying a place in Siesta Key because I went to a wedding on the beach there.
Oh.
And it's a beautiful area. But I just seeing the winds that went through there, I haven't seen any of the destruction. I imagine that it may be wiped off the map. But the Tampa Bay area got hit really, really hard. And then it's made its way across the state. And even before that, like yesterday, I'll tell you what anxiety is. When you have a Ring door camera and of your house, and you're not there your house is secure. I had the hurricane shutters down and everything, but watching that, where Fort Myers was on the hurricane, we actually got lucky. The part of like Cape Coral and other places that are right on the water in my neck of the woods, there's a lot of damage to homes, roofs off, things like that. But we got tornadoes that were ahead of the landfall by Hurricane Milton. And over in the St. Lucie area, where ironically, that's where not ironically, but that's where the Mets spring training is.
Yeah.
They were just tornado after tornado. And I was seeing alerts last night of tornado warnings, and they just piled one after another. So when daylight starts to come, and I see on my phone, it's starting to lighten up. It's not going to be good in the state of Florida. So, thoughts and prayers. And if you have loved ones down there, check on them. A lot of people, though, had warning that this was going to be bad. And so they were able to get to safe places. But the other thing that is happening that I've seen some tweets of people that I follow that live in Southwest Florida is the wildlife. So that's
a great point.
There are bears that are now looking for homes that are kind of out. I had, when Ian came through 2 years ago, I had an alligator in my driveway.
The neighborhood gator.
Yeah, so things get a little bit sideways, but there was plenty of warning. So I'm hoping people heeded the warning and got to a safer spot, because there's 3+ million people without power, and it's going to be a heck of a cleanup. But if you see Tropicana Field, you'll see the power of Milton. That roof is protected at 150 miles an hour, and it got shredded.
No, I saw the video.
Yeah.
Not to make a joke of any terrible situation or anything like that, but my biggest fear, not a joke. You ask my mom, what's Matt's biggest fear in life? Alligators. They scare the ever living bejesus out of me. Okay,
So he's not talking about Aaron Hernandez either.
Well, you have a history.
I know they're just an incredible animal. I mean, they are fierce. You know, they can run up to 20 miles an hour and weigh over 300 pounds simultaneously. It's ridiculous.
Should have seen Javon Curse.
They scare. They scare the ever living crap out of me. But no, thoughts and prayers over in Florida. Terrible situation. And you know, to get that, to get a hurricane of this magnitude is
Which
awful
actually
and
lucky.
terrible.
Like it was a category 3. It could have been worse.
But to get it after coming off of a hurricane, another one just a week ago, people thinking that, all right, we've survived Helene, let's recover, and then all of a sudden, Milton comes back. Thoughts and prayers.
There was
some picture.
So somebody last night on the Weather Channel, they were actually wearing a batting helmet as they were out. You know, everybody says, "Hey, don't go out in the conditions."
Sure.
And so the meteorologists, and especially the Weather Channel, Jim Cantori and their other well-known meteorologists, are out, you know, in the field. You know, I know reporters that have to go out and cover this stuff. But yeah, somebody last night I saw on the Weather Channel was wearing a batting helmet as they were standing out getting pelted by the rain and the wind. Coming up a little bit later, Sarah Baker Hansen back on the show after a trip overseas. Steve Sipple stops by. We'll get his pulse of 6 games into the season with 6 to go. Let's present the question, what if Nebraska is just the same? I mean, there's certain areas where we think, okay, on the bye week, guys will get rested. Some things might get fixed. But what if Nebraska is still the same team that they were for the first 6 games with a much more difficult schedule ahead? What would that record look like? We'll get into that and much more with Sip when he stops by at 8:30, and then Brian Edwards at 9:45.
I'm excited. It's a great show. Hell of a conversation. What if they are the same? Are we gonna answer that question now, or do you want to wait till Sip comes before? Do you want to have this convo?
So even if you know the schedule that is ahead of Nebraska,
Sure.
if the same things that are the strength and the same things that are the weakness, or the same things that are week to week, and Nebraska looks exactly the same in the last 6 weeks, that's still a 7-8 win team.
Oh, in total, I think if they're the same, they're higher, because you got to understand that if this defense,
your schedule is much more difficult,
but they're playing bad defense, or they're playing bad offenses. They are playing a bad Iowa offense. They're playing a bad Wisconsin offense. They're playing a bad UCLA offense. I think obviously the one that gives me the most trepidation when it comes to looking at the schedule, if I'm a fan of this team, is Ohio State and USC, especially USC at the Coliseum. Now, we've talked about
scored
this.
17 against Minnesota.
You've talked about this on this show a lot. Nebraska does have a poignant advantage compared to other teams in the Big Ten, being in the Central Time Zone.
We're not going there.
I'm just saying.
Are you going to go into a James Franklin line?
Wait. I'm not having a full segment on it, but it is it's a factual statement. They have an advantage over Rutgers, over Penn State, over Maryland, over teams that have to travel as far. That's truth. That's truth. Bill Bender came on the show yesterday and told you
I will wait
that they're 10-31. That teams on the road going either way, west to north, or west to east, or east to west, are 10-31. That's the thing. When you go across 2 time zones, Nebraska's got to go across 1. That's a thing. So I'm just saying that it's not as big of a deal. It's not as different. What's the difference between Nebraska?
I would be more concerned about the team I'm playing than my travel.
All I was saying was that it's not as big of a deal when you go over to the Coliseum as other teams. But regardless, USC and Ohio State are your 2 big games.
So 3-3. Start 5-1, 3-3. The schedule goes from being.
What's the third loss? What is your most likely third loss? Indiana on the road? Because I think they match up pretty well.
You've told me that you've broken down Indiana film on
they
all 22.
Well, they run a lot of cover 3, and so when you run a lot of cover 3, you got to put pressure on 3 different spots. You want to put pressure on the weak side linebacker, you want to put pressure in the flats, and you want to put pressure on the seam. Indiana is slow. I mean, that defense is not as fast as you would think a number 18 ranked team in the country is, and that was proven last week when Northwestern, who hasn't been able to get anything done in the pass game through the first 5.
They didn't throw the ball in Indiana. I'll give you that.
They threw the ball in Indiana, and they had Kobe Bretz and A.J. Henning. Both of them are speedsters. A.J. Henning, a former 5-star Illinois high school product, went to Michigan. He was there for 2 years, and he transferred to Northwestern. He's the best recruit Northwestern's ever had. And he had his best game of his career at Northwestern against this Indiana team. And a lot of it was just catch and run. Same thing with, they made Jack Lausch look like a Division I Power 5 quarterback, which he has not looked like at all this season. He didn't even start the season. And so their defense, I think, is not as good as they think, as it's been presented. And frankly, it's because they haven't played as high level of competition.
They played one winning team. I bet. So,
and if I want
a team with one winning record, that's Maryland.
And if I want to play against a team,
but 0-7 are the 3 teams in the Big Ten.
If I want to play against a team and I'm Nebraska and I have to pick, do they have a good offense or if they have a good defense? I would rather them have a good offense because I would be more confident in my team's ability to go and stop the offense, right? And so I think on the defensive end, I think Nebraska is going to have the opportunity, as long as they don't make their stupid mistakes with their penalties, if they can clean up operations, which has been a problem, they can gouge them. They have Fedoni, Lloyd, Barney. Those are the 3 guys you got to look out for against this team.
Wow.
I mean, that's how they match up. And it's cover 3. So seams with the tight ends, out routes with Barney and Lloyd. And then I think that run game, if Dante Dowdell could step to the left or step to the right every once in a while, as opposed to running guys over, I think they can have an effective run game.
Well, I think the rotation will be different at running back out of the bye week because they are very predictable right now on the personnel that's on the field at running back, on what they're going to do. So Emmett Johnson's usage rate has picked up over the last 2 games. So I think after the bye week and they do some self-scouting, the running game may look different. But what if they're the exact same team?
I think it's 4-2. Okay. I think 4-2. Confidently 4-2.
All right. Well, we'll discuss more of that because Sip will join us a little bit later, among other things that we need to discuss, and we'll get into the running game. I know you want to talk more about the all-22 breakdown.
That was it. I just gave it to you.
That was it?
That was it. That's all I had.
Nothing else?
Cover 3. A lot of cover 3. But that might be a Northwestern adjacent.
Best team that Nebraska will play so far?
Who, Indiana?
Yep.
No. Illinois is better than Indiana.
Okay.
I don't think Indiana could go to Happy Valley and be in
Keep
that
it
game.
21-7?
It was 14-7 with 5 minutes left in the fourth.
Fair.
And it was a pick 6 too. I think Illinois' style of play travels. I don't think Indiana's style of play travels necessarily in the Big Ten. I think it's a weird conversation. I think that Indiana's style of play probably travels more nationally than Illinois' style of play. I think Indiana is more equipped to beat an SEC team or a Big 12 team with how they throw the ball with Curtis Rourke and the weapons that they have. But I think if we're talking internally with the Big Ten, I think Illinois is a better team.
I'm looking forward to this conversation.
It'll be good. Simple's the best. I mean, and he's super smart, and I think that as we talk more and more about this Nebraska team, it's almost, and I think the goalposts are kind of moving a little bit, and I think that's probably something that I'll ask. No, because
why do you think what do you mean the goalposts are moving?
I think when we began this year, the collective goal or the collective expectation was just make a bowl game.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 6 to 7 wins. Whatever you do, just make a bowl game. If they were to end the season,
I think hold on here. The general. So I said 7-5. The general consensus was 8-4, and they are on pace to be an 8-4 team. And you're implying that 8-4 after a 5-1 start with a much more difficult back end would be a disappointment? I don't think
the back end is as I don't think the last 5 games are as difficult as the first 7 were. Because I think when you
got separated 6 and
6 and 6. Well, you're talking about playing Northern. I don't like separating 6 and 6 because UTEP and Northern Iowa are nothing compared to the Big Ten team that they're going to be playing. Big Ten teams that are going to be playing. I think if we're looking at the Big Ten schedule, I would much rather play UCLA and Wisconsin and Iowa than go and play Colorado and Illinois.
Okay.
I mean, I think Wisconsin is a team right now that's trying to run an air raid offense with a backup quarterback. UCLA is a mess, a hot mess.
Yeah.
And
Eric Bieniemy is
not
a good professional move.
No, and Iowa can't throw the ball. They can't throw the ball. It's a never seen anything like
Did you
it.
hear my stat yesterday about Cade McNamara?
Can you give it to me?
You didn't go back and listen?
I didn't listen to the whole show. I mean, it's a tough listen, Gary.
Damn. The comments are saying you're cooking. Now you're grilling.
So Cade McNamara has not thrown a touchdown pass against a Power 4 or 5 team since the 21 championship game.
What? Wait, say that again?
He hasn't thrown a touchdown pass against a Power 4, Power 5 team since he did against Iowa in the 21
That is
championship
insane.
game.
That's a great poll. That Iowa hadn't scored. They hadn't scored a touchdown against a ranked team since 2018 or 2017 until they did it against.
They're going to be in
Ohio
for a challenge
State.
against Washington.
I mean, Kirk
11 a.m. Saturday in Iowa City is going to be. That's going to be a 4-quarter ball game.
Kirk is having drinks right now at that one little bar you were talking about in Iowa City. I mean, I'll say this, and I know that we got to get to break in a second.
We don't know. Here's the thing: as the schedule, Nebraska to me is week to week.
Sure,
we do this because that's what we do, and we're in a bye week, and you're like, well, what do the next 6 look like? Nebraska football is week to week. Nebraska is not a point where you can project.
You could put that on a T-shirt, by the way. I mean, no, seriously. I mean, I totally agree.
we're all day to day. Nebraska football is week to week.
They are. I will say this though. Take away anything from the first 6 games of this season is that the Nebraska program in the past, you were able to look at a schedule and say, okay, they should win this game and they should win this game and they're more talented than this team and that's an inferior. We called it inferior opponents, right? And they would lose to them. They would lose to a Michigan State team who had lost 4 games in a row, fired their head coach, and had the worst quarterback situation in the country.
Thanks for the reminder.
Now,
that was a fun Saturday last November.
They now are at a point in 5-1 where they've beaten. Not only have they beat the teams that they are supposed to beat, but they beat them handily. They have been a dominant team. Okay, up until their loss against Illinois. They dominated in the second half of Purdue, but they were dominating in the first half of Purdue. They just couldn't get points on the board. I thought the panic button was a little bit too much. I think too many people were pressing that panic button after the first half of Purdue. And then now I'll say this. The end of the Rutgers game was classic Nebraska. I mean, that a couple of years ago, they lose that game in the fourth quarter. I mean, a year ago, they lost that exact game to Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I take away from the season. They're beating the teams they're supposed to beat. That's a major step in the right direction.
All right. That's Matt McMaster. He's in. Jimmy's got an update coming up next. I'm still Gary. It's Mornings with Sharp and Handley at 1620 The Zone.
Creighton soccer breaks its scoring drought, then spent the closing minutes holding off its crosstown rival, the Blue Jays, which have been shut out in 3 of the previous 4 games scored in each half, went on to earn a 2-1 victory over Omaha last night at Caniglia Field. Match was played in front of just over 1,542 to be exact, the 5th largest crowd at Caniglia Field in Division I history. As we said yesterday, it's going to be a gorgeous night for it, and it was. Speaking of gorgeous nights for stuff, high school football tonight, some of the games in the area. Lincoln East at Columbus, Lincoln High at Millard South, Lincoln Southwest at Bellevue West, Norfolk at Omaha Burke, and Westview, Bellevue East, Ralston, Gretna East. What's the TV game tonight?
We get to feature the Wolverines of Westview taking on the Chieftains of Bellevue East, 2 programs that don't get a lot of TV airtime.
Oh, so that'll be
fun.
fun.
We'll be over at Bellevue East, which last year was the first time I had been to the Bellevue East football stadium. Really nice. Really, really nice.
It is.
Yeah.
Sure.
But the game of the week is Elkhorn Southwest side tomorrow night.
Yeah. Gorgeous nights for both tonight and tomorrow.
All this is going over my head.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not.
You're learning.
You went to a private school in Chicago, so
I did.
just keep
Not
yourself
Boston.
under control over there.
I went to St. Mary's High in Psalm Squat.
You told me when you go, do you know I went to Notre Dame? And I'm like, I thought you went to Nebraska.
No. I went to Notre Dame, the college prep school for young boys to men. That's
I
what-
remember Boys to Men.
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
That's the school I went to.
The Saints will start rookie quarterback Spencer Rattler. You remember him? He was once known as the Cock Commander in South Carolina against the Tampa Bay Bucks on Sunday. Rattler will start in place of the injured Derek Carr, who strained his oblique against the Chiefs on Monday. Allen said Carr's return would be a week-to-week decision and that Carr would retain his starting job when healthy. Remember when Wayne Font said that about Rodney Peete? And Eric Kramer replaced him. Anyway, the Saints play 2 games in 5 days, Sunday against Tampa Bay, and then the Thursday night game against Denver next week. So now you know what the Thursday night game is next week, so you can plan your life around it. Aaron Rodgers, yes, more crap came from him yesterday for the first time since Robert Saleh's dismissal. Fired back at those he believed influenced owner Woody Johnson's decision to change coaches after only 5 games. And of course, we would all believe him, because why would we not? He said he will support interim coach Jeff Ulbrich. I'm glad to know he'll support him. And any changes he might make to the offensive staff, one of those changes could be a demotion for Rodgers' close friend Nathaniel Hackett, the offensive coordinator and former Denver Broncos great coach and play caller. Ulbrich said Tuesday he's mulling changes, but he didn't offer specifics. Yeah, he's not doing anything without Aaron's approval. The baseball was great yesterday. The Tigers put the Guardians on the brink, beating them 3-0. Game 4 today in the D. Look for the Tigers to eliminate the Guards. Mets eliminate the Phillies thanks to a grand slam from Don't Call Him Frankie Lindor, 4-1. Their Lord and Savior Grimace leads them back to the NLCS for the first time since 2015. That was a good year. Speaking of 2015, the Royals must win tonight to continue to attempt to relive that year as Giancarlo Stanton's home run led the Yankees to a 3-2 win at Kauffman. Game 4 tonight at Kauffman Stadium, Michael Wacha against Garrett Cole. Even matchup there. And the Dodgers beat the Padres 8-0 to force a Game 5 at Dodger Stadium on Friday night. That'll be fun. Finally, the roof at Tropicana Field as we see some of the stuff on their home of the Rays. What do we got?
So now that the sun is coming up, the whole roof got shredded. So
wow.
I can't believe these people are out there. These news people are out in the storm.
Those are some big wedges.
Reporting. It's crazy.
Yeah, you're not kidding about the tornadoes. They did have an outbreak yesterday during the day. There goes a cow.
This is great radio as
It
we
is.
just play-by-play.
We're near play-by-play.
the Today Show.
What this is about is the
Damn
roof
it.
at Tropicana Field sustained major damage. If you haven't gone and seen it, go look at it because of the high winds associated with Hurricane Milton. Made landfall last night along Florida's Gulf Course coast. Pictures and video on social media showed most of the fabric covering the dome roof torn off. The ballpark in St. Petersburg was designated as a staging site for first responders and state and local emergency management services aiding with debris removal. The facility was set up to host 10,000 people with cots arranged on the plane surface. And according to the Rays, the trop was built to withstand winds of up to 115 miles per hour. The roof is supported by 180 miles of cables connected by struts in what the team called the world's largest cable-supported dome roof. That roof no longer exists. They are supposed to get a new stadium, though, so there's that.
Yeah, they have not started that. But
so what do they like? What do you think is, because you know that area so well, and I think that you know the situation of maybe what they're going through better than others. Like, what do you think the step is? Like, are they looking to fix that place up, you think, or are they?
Well, they have nowhere to go.
So that's the thing. Do they have anywhere to go after
They're
that?
going to need a very big tarp for the season.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. Like, there's a picture this morning of, it looks like a drone. So you can see like the whole fiberglass is off. The only thing that is standing on the roof are the cables.
Okay.
And again, it was built to withstand winds of 115 miles an hour. So that tells you how strong Milton was when it came through in that part of the Florida Gulf Coast. Is hurricane season's not over. Now,
End of November.
if you've subscribed to the Hurricane of the Month Club, I would get rid of that subscription. But it's also still kind of the tail end of rainy season where now you are exposed.
Okay.
You're in your turf. So, and you got seats. It's you're gonna have some major water damage. Now there are no injuries and there was nobody in the trop.
That's good.
So that's fingers crossed. But you're gonna have to, the interior will, you got to work on the interior, and then they're gonna have to find a way quickly to cover up the roof. Now you're about a month or so away from the non-rainy season.
Yeah,
but
winter.
But I don't know. That's gonna be a major challenge to get that thing ready for next baseball season. But just looking at the winded to the trop, I mean that neighborhood is a lot of low income housing, and I just the Tampa St. Pete area, just the way it is built, is one of the worst places in the state of Florida for a Cat 3 or greater to make landfall. Just the way it's built. So it will not be a good day. I mean, it's
terrible.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Very, very little loss of life. But tornadoes were a problem yesterday. I was getting updates from Lee County of tornado warning. I mean, they were just stacking up
one after the other.
One after another. All right. Thanks, Jimmy. Matt McMaster sitting in for Nick for the next couple of days. Kyle tweets in. I'm just looking at you and laughing. Kyle writes in.
Am I amusing to you?
Yes,
I
you are.
amuse you.
Am
I a clown?
Well,
I'm funny how?
Are you
funny
quoting
how?
Goodfellas?
Funny how?
Funny haha. Kyle tweets in. Gary Sharp
You're a funny
1620.
guy.
Nebraska can barely score on some of the worst defenses in the nation and lost the only competent offense they have played.
Oh, is that a clapback to me?
Well, it's just a response from what you were saying.
I don't think, though, that Nebraska's inability to score on some of the worst defenses in the country are necessarily because of the lack of talent or the lack of. I think it's very fixable stuff. I think it's very fixable. Hey, let's not get a false start on 2nd and 10 on the own 40. Hey,
now 47 penalties for the first half of the season, but remember, Nebraska was heavily penalized last year. If there's one area where I'm thinking, okay, they have a history that this was addressed. 47 penalties.
Yeah.
And, maybe you're playing a style that draws a lot of penalties in games because Nebraska's played a few games where there's just a lot of flags on both sides that are thrown. Last year, they corrected that in the second half of the season. They were much better.
And I think if there's anything that you're going into the bye week that you're really trying to fix, that's the most effective thing that you can fix as a coaching staff, is penalties. And I think when they can take now an extra week
fix
to
dumb penalties.
But if they can take an
penalties
extra
in the
week,
course of the play. Yeah.
But when you take an extra week to go and self-scout, you can go and look back on some of the calls and be like, hey, they're calling this a little bit stricter this year than they were last year.
Downfield blocking is a big thing that we've seen called.
Yeah, these types of plays or these types of concepts, they're actually inducing more penalty flags than we anticipated. Here are the different ways that we have to go and execute. You make a note of that. I think that penalties, I don't think that Nebraska, they've scored less points for sure than they should have, because against Purdue, they were marching down that field and they got a penalty called on a touchdown that clearly wasn't a penalty. I don't think...
But that game could have been 45-10. Now, if it's 45-10, that probably the tone of being 5-1 changes a bit because transitive property guy or gal looks at what Wisconsin did to Purdue last weekend.
Sure.
52-6 and go, man, Nebraska only won 28-10, where that game essentially could have been 45-10.
No one's...
Just like Washington. Nebraska left 17 points on the field, just like Washington against Rutgers.
I don't leave. I have no defense or argument for this offense in terms of they were bad against Purdue. They were bad. But At no point did I think they were going to lose that game, because you watch that game and you saw them. Okay, they're moving down the field. They are able to march down the field. They're making these crucial mistakes that's costing them points. So I think that was more, I would call that more of a flash of pan than anything. I would honestly, though, and I think it's a good point. Hey, Wisconsin beat Purdue by so much.
No, I'm not transitive property guy. I'm just presenting
neither
that.
am I.
Yeah.
Neither am I. I would be way more concerned about the second half versus Rutgers. I mean, that was, we've seen this team when they are up by a lot take the foot off the gas pedal. They were not up by enough to take any foot off of any gas pedal in that game, and nearly lost that game.
But I'm going to play the other side of this.
Sure.
More Rutgers than Nebraska.
Not with how the defense was playing. When you get that many possessions,
Now Rutgers adjusted defensively in the second half.
They're a good defense. I don't think it's to the point, but it has nothing to do.
I'm not making an excuse here. I'm just presenting the other part of this conversation.
No, but my point of the conversation. Let me adjust my point a little bit. Then it's not necessarily that they weren't scoring points; is that they were going 3 and out. Is that they were having 6 plays in a row where they were punting. It's where they were having, I think they had 10 yards, maybe, or some very low amount of yards from the end of the third quarter to the fourth quarter. That's my main concern, because once again, they didn't score any points against Purdue in the second half or in the first half. But I wasn't as concerned about them, because you saw the vision. You saw them going down the field. You saw them getting themselves into opportunities to score. They weren't doing that against Rutgers. Rutgers a better defense than Purdue? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. But the fact that in close games like that, your quarterback, who
he had a bad day at the office,
but he had a bad day at the office, and it's a little concerning. And I know it's probably maybe the best defense he's played. I think Illinois is a little bit better than Rutgers. You want to see progression, and it's okay to take 2 steps forward and 1 step back. No one's expecting Dylan to get better every single game, because if he's going to do that, he's going to win the Heisman next year, and that's a little bit out of proportion, right? But it wasn't 1 step back he took against Rutgers. He took multiple steps back against Rutgers. And when we get into, yes, if you're looking at a more holistic view of this season, the more difficult part of the season, you're not at the point right now where you can be taking a couple steps back.
This is what they will do. I think Nebraska football is who they are right now. Good football team, could go up another level. I don't think will take a step back. So I think they're a good football team that has a extremely good defense that will keep you in a game as long as you don't, on the other side of the ball or in special teams, hurt yourself. They're good enough to keep you around. So a good football team that could maybe slide up to a very good team. But I think what you'll see in the second half of the season, the things they do well, you can list those however you want, they will continue to do those. And the things that have ailed them in the first 6 weeks, whether it be personnel groupings, multitude of substitution, coverage schemes, whatever those are, they will get as far as they can away from them. So sure. I think Nebraska is a finished product, but I think Nebraska, in their ability of what they do well and don't do well, they're near their ceiling, if that makes sense. So that's why I say, what if they are the same team they have been for 6 games with a couple of more difficult landmines in front of them? Still win 8 football games?
I'll push you back.
I mean, why would you be upset if they won 8 football games?
I don't think anyone
500 would be. They're 500 in the second half of the season.
I don't disagree with what you're saying.
You're probably playing maybe late December. You're in Orlando.
Yeah.
You're at the park with Mickey and Minnie.
Music City Bowl, Outback Bowl, Tax Slayer, the Tax Slayer Capital One Bowl. Look, in the preseason, my sentiment about this team was there's a lot of good parts. There's a lot of good players. There's a lot of day 3, day 2 draft picks. There's not a superstar. Okay? And Dylan Raiola has the superstar, but he's not playing like necessarily a superstar quarterback. He's been good, but you don't have a contributing superstar on this team. And if you're going to be in the tier of the Penn States and Ohio States and the Oregons, you have to have superstars on the team.
But wait, let me get there. But they ask him to do superstar things.
But he's doing a good job. I'm not
Yeah.
pushing back on him. I'm just saying right now, I mean, he's not at the level of a Quinn Ewers or
but you don't expect him to be.
No one's expecting him. I'm just saying right now, he's not a superstar. Can he be? Absolutely. But I'm just saying how this team is right now through 5-1. They don't have a lot of superstars, right? And that's how I felt about this team going into the season. If you're going to compete at that CFP tier, you need that. And that's something that this program is building towards. And I think that Matt Rule would admit to you, and that's a process, right? It's going to take a lot of time for this team to get there. But you saying they are what they are, I have never, and granted, I'm young, and so you have more experience, you have seen more than I have. People forget. They have progressed these guys so much.
Yeah,
they are
definitely better in year 2.
Startling. And from when they first got here in 2022 to when they had their first season in 2023 to now, those players, the guys, the key contributors we talk about now have progressed so much that it's almost it's impossible for me to say these guys are who they are, because of the massive strides they have taken, not just off-season, but week to week as well. Because we started, Nebraska starts the season without Sierra Wright. He's not playing.
Mm-hmm.
You come into the year thinking it's going to be Bly Hill who gets hurt, right? And then it turns into, okay, it's going to be Buford and Hill. And then now Tommy Hill gets hurt, and now Sierra Wright is playing like one of the best cornerbacks in the Big Ten. And so,
but
I can't say.
But you need Tommy Hill to come back for what you're about to face.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. But I can't tell you right now, well, they are who they are, because I've seen so many players on this team get better week to week, day to day. And that's what they want to do. And I think, and I want to talk a lot about Tony White at some point, over these next few days. But what's been most impressive about what he's done, specifically on the defensive side, the guys that he's winning with, a lot of them were already here. A lot of them were playing on that atrocious 2022 defense, which got better when Bill Bush came in and became the DC. But a lot of them got better, But Deshaun Singleton was still on the team when they weren't that good.
So you're saying that you think the defense can get better?
I think the whole team can get better. I think I don't think with how the player development has happened in this program, I think you can never say this team can't get better, because all this team has done is taken these guys who were already here when they were bad and coached them into players that are now here when they are good. And they can become great. So more than likely what you're saying is going to happen. But I'm saying you can't say that definitively.
Okay. But I was 7-5 at the beginning of the year. So I still look at them as
where do you adjust them now?
I still look at them as a 7-5 team.
No. How?
Well, I'm happy to be wrong, and I will adjust it. But now this is the part of the year that I'm looking forward to, because you will find out more over the next 2 weeks. You'll find out more about this football program over the next 2 games that I think you will have learned in the first 6.
Does an overtime win against Illinois change your opinion that much? Do you think so? If they have 7,
that's a valid question, and it would a bit, because my thing is, when I said I think they're 7-5, I've always wondered how they would deal with success.
Yes,
that was the first test where they dealt with success, where people were talking about them, and I saw the same movie.
Sure.
Now, the response the following week, encouraging. The response last week, another step. But now the season gets real.
I can't.
And that's what I want.
So if they were 6-0, would you be saying 8-4? Or do you still think
I would have
adjusted?
I would have adjusted, because that was my, how do they deal with success?
See, for me,
how do they start to stack things where they don't have a loss that looks familiar?
Sure.
That loss was familiar. And I can take any day that ends in Y if somebody else is better than you and they just beat you. But that game against Illinois, Nebraska beat themselves.
I totally agree.
Okay. And how many times have they done that of late?
This season? What are we talking?
No.
Micro or macro?
Even go back to last year.
That's what this program is known for.
But that's what the next step is, to take the next leap is to get over losing those games where it's on you, not them.
But they
what
did
ailed
that.
you
They
was in
did
your
that last
locker
week.
room.
They did that last week.
But we're starting with the Illinois and moving
Sure,
forward. And
sure.
that's what I said is step against Purdue, another step against Rutgers. But here we go.
Okay.
Now, Indiana, Ohio State, back-to-back on the road, ranked teams that will challenge you in different ways than the first 6 teams or 5 of the first 6 did. How do you respond to that? How do you respond when things are ratcheted up and now you're scratching a bowl bid?
Mm-hmm.
Nebraska's going to go to a bowl game. Okay, they're gonna go past 6, but it's okay. You were here last year and then went winless in November. You have to learn how to win.
I like that.
They're learning how to find ways to win instead of learning how to continue to find ways to lose. That's encouraging. That's progress in year 2. No one can deny that. Absolutely. But that's the step. And then I also must tell you, because you probably don't know enough about my thinking, is I've always said that this year sets up next year.
Absolutely agree. Because next year it gets tougher. And I want to say two things.
You will
here.
be different. You will have a year 2 quarterback.
Yeah.
And you will have a different type of defense that will have missed some familiar faces, but will be faster.
I'll say 2 things here.
And it'll be year 3.
First off, to begin the year, I went on Husker Hour, my former show, great host, Cole
On
Scoopin
KLIN.
on KLIN. And I said this, I said 8-4,
Mm-hmm.
but I said, I think they're closer to 7-5 than they are 9-3. I think this is a team where it's like, they probably got 1 win more than they should have. I think now I'm still 8-4, but I would change the sentiment. I think they're closer to 9-3 than they are being a 7-5 in that regard. So that's how I've shifted. And I think I was high. And by the way, I've been higher on this team than you were to begin the year. That's neither here nor there.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about year 2. I believe this, and I've said this. The Matt Rule era begins when they win 9 games for the first time. That's when the tenure begins, because this program.
It doesn't begin when they win a game that they're not supposed to?
No.
Okay.
It begins when because this program has been in the dumpster for the last 7 years, and people have just been wanting and begging for a winner, begging for a product that they can actually be proud of, begging for a product where it doesn't feel like a chore to go to a Memorial Stadium game in November, begging for a product where they want to go to that game, where they want to see their team play, where there is actual stakes. And so when you have a team that's actually having a winning season and actually putting a good product onto the field, you're elated. You're happy. You're euphoric. You feel like you're at Disney World because it's like finally this passionate fan base that loves this team so much.
But you know this young Matt that has just arrived on the train from Boston is 5-1 doesn't seem to be happy.
No, but let me get there. If they go 9-3 this year, that sentiment is gone.
So then
it's now. So hey, you've done it.
So
do it again.
Your year 1 begins next year. Then
if
I'm following along your logic.
Yes. I think year 1 is next year.
All right, nice job, Fleck. Have some McDonald's Sprite over there.
I don't. What did PJ say? The same thing? I mean, that's
PJ
what
said a lot of things.
But that's what I believe with this program and with the expectations, because the pressure really starts for this team, and you were alluding to it. The wins get harder and harder, right? When people are talking about you, the wins, each win now, when you go from 5 to 6, it's going to be harder to go from 6 to 7. It's going to be harder to go to 7
Great
to 8.
point.
You were saying that. You know, I just finished that point for you. You're welcome. Now, as that happens, it's each season now is going to get harder. As there's more and more success, there's more and more expectations. That's going to.
Can we just talk about now and not fast forward?
Fair enough.
Okay.
That's what we were
I know
doing.
young kids.
I was advancing it. I was advancing the conversation.
Young kids, you want to look to the future.
I was pushing us
in a
along.
hurry to grow up.
Jimmy and I are day to day. You're over there. You're already thinking about your future when you're our age.
I think that this schedule.
Slow time down.
You say they're still 7-5. I think they can be an 8-4 team, but they can be a 7-5 team with an 8-4 record. UCLA's terrible. They're going to beat UCLA. Wisconsin's awful. Luke Fickell gives me major Scott Frost vibes over there. And Iowa.
Not Bill Callahan vibes?
No, because he's got the air raid over there, and he's trying to do something in a place that hasn't been done before.
That happened
and the
once here,
offensive
too.
style.
That happened when you were
4.
In the Big 12.
I was 4. So I'm more Scott Frost.
God, we're old.
I know.
You don't have to agree with it.
Oh, I can't.
There used to be 8 teams in a conference, and you could drive everywhere.
Hold that thought.
Go ahead.
Hold that thought. I know you got lots of things. You're responding to people over there. You're a youngin'. You're texting while you're talking.
I wasn't.
We're
just
getting you new
looking.
followers.
I'm interacting. I'm interacting with the YouTube chat. I want to see what they're saying, and whatever.
It's mornings with Sharp and Handley. Matt McMaster sitting in for the next 2 days. God bless our soul. Sarah Baker Hansen, about 30 minutes away. We'll talk to Sip in an hour.
You just keep looking at me and not saying.
I'm
anything.
I'm
laughing.
amused by you. If people only knew how we first met.
It's not like a Hallmark love story. I mean, we just sat next to each other at a. We just sat next.
You've
to each
come a
other
long way.
at
I'm
a-
very
at
happy.
a-
I'm
at
like
a-
I'm a proud papa today. You got multiple fathers,
Yeah, I was
and
about to
I'm
say.
one of them.
I got it. I got a dad. I don't need another father figure. Right? Appreciate it though.
It's mornings.
Nice of you.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
Wow. It's the greatest time of the year again. We told you that already. Football officially back with Underdog Fantasy. Over 1 million fans across 33 states got in the game last year by making picks on Underdog. It's easy. Win up to 1,000 times your money just by choosing higher or lower on your favorite players' stats, touchdowns, passing yards. You get the idea. You got to check it out. I even did. Had some success. I like winning. We're going to try and do it again tonight. Making picks on Underdog is straightforward, and signing up is even easier. Just head over to Underdog. Simple to use mobile app or UnderdogFantasy.com. Sign up with promo code ZONE, and Underdog will give you a free pick to use on your first cash pick'em entry, plus up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you deposit. That's Underdog Fantasy. Promo code ZONE to claim your new customer special of a free pick and your deposit offer. Must be 19 plus in Nebraska and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org.
All right, welcome back in Mornings with Sharp and Handley. And Jimmy is here and Matt is here, who just informed us that he's Cuban.
Did you take our cigars?
Oh, I would love a Cuban cigar right now. Look, I'm really honored to be on the show and everything like that, and you two have been absolutely phenomenal for me. Does Nick Handley sit here every morning?
Well, we have two people. So Nick and Josh sit in
Okay.
that chair.
Can I just say this?
And Jimmy Allen sits there at night.
And I don't know if either of them have said this to you, but I'll just speak for him. The lumbar support on this thing is absolutely atrocious. I mean, my back is burning right now being on this thing. I mean, it's like I'm sitting on a turtle shell right now. It's just like I can't. I've been squirming over here, not because I haven't taken my medicine, but because like I can't get comfortable. So I don't know if they've complained, but I'm not too big to complain here.
We're trying to get a chiropractor endorsement.
Seriously, we need a massage chair for Peterson and Handley after the show with what they're sitting in. No wonder your posture's terrible. You're sitting in the same seat.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's 90 minutes and you've worn me out. I had to go learn how to make coffee for the first time for you.
The fact that this is such a reputable station and doesn't have a
Pee-wee
Keurig.
Herman wants a cheese sandwich.
Hey, speak louder. Speak for the people in the back.
Keurig. Get a Keurig. K-Cups, awesome.
Hey,
thank you.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
Here
You'll have to pass it up the food
Brian
chain.
on the 42 Degree The Source hotline. Good morning, Brian.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. How are you, sir?
Not too bad. Hey, I was just calling in. I heard you guys talking about the record and stuff, and you could count me as one of those people in the fan base. It doesn't feel like it feels like it doesn't feel like we're 5-1 for some reason, and I've talked to that, several Husker fans that kind of feel the same way, and I can't point to what that is, but
Hold on, just let
Indiana.
No, Brian. You know what? This is a good call and a good comment, because this is a sentiment. 5-1 is 5-1 around a program that hasn't made a bowl since 16. That there is definite progress. Is it doesn't feel like 5-1 strictly because of the offense hasn't played 60 minutes of football and the special teams are the same as they were last year?
Yeah, I think that's probably, I think that's probably part of it.
Brian, were you feeling this way before the Rutgers game? Was this a 4-1 doesn't feel like 4-1, and then it turned into 5-1?
Okay.
Yeah.
It felt like that beforehand. So what game do you think, was it the Purdue game that put a little bad taste in your mouth?
Yeah, that did, because that should have been handled in the first half.
Yeah.
I mean, that shouldn't even have been an issue. But it's like you never know what you're going to get week to week with this team. You might see the defense, the offense, the special teams always suck. But going back to one of your points, somebody said that they think the Rule era starts when he wins 9 games. I don't know. I think Rule's probably about a max 7-8 win coach a year in this league. That's just my opinion. I hope I'm wrong. I just don't think he's. I mean, with the special team, I guess I'm really disappointed in our special teams.
So
that's all
is that a competition thing or is that a rule thing? Is it just they play the Big Ten is so loaded now?
A little bit, yeah. It has to do with competition, and it has to do with a rule thing. Because until he gets a new offensive coordinator,
not going to happen.
And special teams for sure.
Nah, that guy's like a father to him. So I don't think that.
I don't know. I wish they would, I think you had mentioned, Gary, I wish they would pare down the offense. I mean, you can't get the ball to everybody on that team. I think it was you that said we need to simplify it and go to certain people. I mean,
less predictable personnel when they're on the field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
Well, in the running game. Brian, thanks for the phone call. So the way the Big Ten is, okay, the way the schedule is going to be, and there aren't going to be as many Purdues that will be in this league.
Sure. You think
8-4 acceptable baseline every year?
I think, okay. they're not going to be produced every single. Sorry. Let me rephrase that. I disagree with you. There are going to be Purdue's and there are going to be bad teams in the Big Ten every year. The problem is, though,
schedule matters.
Exactly. With how many teams are in the Big Ten, there's not a guarantee that you are going to be playing those teams when they are bad.
See,
right?
I think you begin the year. If you get to a point where you begin the year and before you know your first kick time, you go, we're 6-6, boys. We got to find a way to get 3 more wins out of the schedule. Because I use this in baseball. Everybody is going to be 60-60 unless you're the Chicago White Sox 2024. So you have 42 games to find out how to win 30 more or 35 more. But everybody's going to be 60-60. And what do you do with those next 42? So let's just say Nebraska's going to be 6-6.
Sure.
How do you find 2 or 3 more wins?
Yeah.
You can get to that point.
I think 8-4 is a fair baseline. But I think 8-4 is a fair baseline as long as you have.
We might look at a play. There's going to be a possible 3-loss team in the playoff, and we might and when you're in the Big Ten and you're in the SEC, you might go, you know what, 9-3. Hell yeah, I'll take that record because we are either in or on the cusp of being in the playoff discussion.
But 8-4, I think, to Brian's point, right? He thinks that he thinks Matt Rule's an 8-win guy. You say, is 8 wins a fair baseline for the Matt Rule era? I think 8 wins is a fair baseline for the Matt Rule era. If that once every couple of years,
that's
you get over the hump, you get to 10, you get to a playoff. So if they're going 8-4 for 10 straight years, at some point, I think everyone's going to look around and say, maybe we need a change. But if they're going,
that'd be a fun discussion.
Well,
we've had here before.
But that is so
how did they
far,
get to 8 wins? What do those 8 wins look like? What are those 4?
That's so far. But if there's a fair, I think a fair baseline for him is 8 wins is cool as long as once every couple of years you have a great recruiting class or a great transfer portal class, and you're able to get into that next degree. It's in this era of college football, with NIL and the parity and the moving of talent and the spreading of talent across the country, it's almost unfair, I think, for any team to every single year have a national championship expectation because it's not as centralized as it used to be.
Oh, I think those programs that do today still will have.
I don't think
aspiration.
Alabama. They'll have the aspiration, but I don't think for 20 straight years.
Alabama, legit, when you start the season, we can win a national championship. Those 5 to 6 programs right now that is a real conversation that you don't blink your eye and go, bruh, Kirby. Those are still going to be the same
in 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they'll be this. I don't think we'll have 20 straight
they might have
years
more that
of
are with
Alabama
them.
saying every single year we should win the national championship. Because I just think with the money and the NIL the different schools.
The word we should, I think is wrong, is we have the ability to win a national championship.
I think less of those teams will exist. I think less of those expectations will exist because there is more parity. Because there are teams like SMU who are willing to have big donors come in and buy a bunch of players and make them good again. Because you got teams like Miami.
SMU's not a national champion. They're not.
But they're taking talent away from teams that would have. They're taking talent away. They're taking the type of talent away from Georgia and Alabama and those Power 5 programs because of the money they have. Yes, they are.
It's tradition at SMU. They've been doing it for years.
Yeah, I mean they have a heck of a team right now. Look at Ashton Genty over in Boise State. They were able to keep him over there and not let him go to one of those big power teams because they have enough money.
Do you not
to pay
know
him.
where the talent is? You make it sound like Georgia.
The talent is spreading. The talent is spreading with the more money. Here's the thing: there is
but
a
it
team.
takes more than one. You just mentioned a guy that might win the Heisman as a running back.
Sure.
It's more than that. Now Boise State's in the running to be a 12 seed.
Yeah. I'm saying with NIL, we're seeing now there's more parity. Look at what did Bill Bender say yesterday to you, which I thought was an incredible point. Look at the SEC standings and look at the AFC. They're pretty similar. He saw Arkansas beat Tennessee, and he looked at that like Arizona beating San Francisco.
But that doesn't change the game.
I think that changes the game tremendously.
Good teams lose. No, that doesn't all of a sudden mean that Vanderbilt is changing college football.
I think it's
good
not just Vanderbilt.
Good teams can lose.
You're singularly saying. I'm not singularly saying Vanderbilt's changing college football. I'm saying the fact that you're having more and more teams who look better.
I think the sample size of this discussion is way too small right now.
I agree. We're too early.
At the end of the day,
sure.
you could be right, and you probably are going to trend that way. I think it's really, really early on.
I agree.
All right, the landscape of college football is changing. Because I tell you, if you don't wear me out and I'm here for 10 more years, I think in 10 more years we're going to still be talking about the same group of teams.
Sure.
Now, and I hope that there is another 5 that have joined them, that when the season kicks off, camp starts at the end of July, first part of August, like we have a legit chance to win the national championship.
I will say this, though. The 5 group of teams we talked about 30 years ago, they're different now. It's a different group of teams.
But there was a huge
changes.
change in college football.
Sure.
And while there is change on the horizon, it will not be as gigantic from what happened to.
You don't think
those.
the change
but there's also
of
part
conferences
this
and
is
at play?
This is a deeper conversation
Sure.
about the rules that were laid out, but also let's talk about bad decisions, hiring.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that has to be part of the discussion of people in the power chair make bad decisions.
Was that a walk-in?
That was just, you're a Boston guy.
Pocket. I like Brian's call. I like Brian's call up to the point where I liked it until he said he didn't think Rule is more than an 8-win coach, because he's already proved it at places that have way less resources that he can win more than 8 games. I do like the call, though, up to the point of being like, I think Nebraska fans have every single right to look at this team and say, hey, the 5-1 record looks good, but we're just waiting to get exposed. Like there is fear of being exposed to Indiana. There is fear of being exposed to Ohio State. There is fear of better teams are on the horizon. And
UCLA.
See, good point, Jimmy. I've been, my mom told me not to swear, so now I got to think of a different word to use other than the C word.
C word.
I've been no, the others.
What the
crap. I've been crapping all over these Wisconsin and Iowa and all these other teams and saying they're not that good, right? Well, they're better than Purdue. They're better than UTEP. I think
there's a lot of teams in college football that are better than Purdue.
But they're better. I don't think it's as difficult of a slate as we thought going into it.
They're week to week. I'm not changing that. I think Nebraska's week to week, and that's fine.
I think that's a good place to be for them.
Mm-hmm. In the scope of where Nebraska football is currently, you can't make them something they're not because they haven't gotten there yet. And that's fine. You can't skip steps. That's why I say they're week to week.
How long have you been saying that sentence?
Because there have been steps that have been...
That's a decade-long sentence.
But steps have been
there.
skipped around here.
Oh, yeah.
All right,
%.
and it comes back to, in the end, you can't mess with it. You can't lie. Okay? It's going to catch up to you.
You can't lie.
Can't lie.
How did my boss can turn Australian there for a second? Crikey.
One night in Sydney.
That's Matt. That's Jimmy. I'm Gary. It's Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Sarah Baker Hanson join us here in about 15 minutes at 1620 The Zone.
This week's half-off deals, you just heard the voice guy say, Scary Acres now open for the 2024 season, featuring 3 haunted attractions, the Masters Castle, golf, House on the Hill, and Haunted Woods. Listen to USC every afternoon this week to win 2 super combo passes that'll get you into all 3 haunted attractions. And see if you can go with John and Josh there. It'd be fun. The deal goes live at 9 a.m. Friday morning. Details under the Deals tab at 1620thezone.com.
Hey, if you want to see how good Indiana is, the riveting Friday night game in the Big Ten is Northwestern and Maryland, 2 teams that Indiana has played.
I'm going to watch that game.
Well, because you're a Chicago guy. You support Northwestern.
Dude,
Did your dad go to
My father went to Northwestern, a very proud alumni. I grew up going to Ryan Field and Ryan Stadium and went to a lot of,
You been to Tiny Baby Stadium yet?
I can't wait for the Tiny Baby Stadium. I think it's going to be great.
No, I mean the one they're playing in right now.
I haven't been to that one.
Okay.
Tickets are tough for that. They're like expensive. Like a lot of people, it's like an attraction. A lot of people want to go. No, it is. It's a beautiful, that stadium. I know people who've been there because they went to soccer games there and field hockey games there, and they've always talked about how great it was. And now people want to, it's an attraction. People want to watch.
They've
them
started,
play football.
I noticed yesterday from Wrigley Aerials, they've started the transition of Wrigley Field to hosting.
Yeah, I want to go to one of those games.
Northwestern, Ohio State.
I'm 20 minutes away from Wrigley, so I don't know.
Thanks
think
for the invite.
We're not going to go to the Ohio State game, my dad and I, because we don't want to see them get beat that bad. But they do play Illinois there, so that should be a really good game. But look, Maryland, not a good team, not a terrible team though. I think they had a really interesting game against Indiana, and their quarterback Billy Edwards Jr., so a really good player. I think he's the type of guy that, if he continues to progress in the way he is, maybe he ends up getting drafted.
The game next Saturday at 11 a.m. is the Curiosity Bowl.
I agree. And Bill yesterday talked about it on your show, Bender, who you put 4, right? I mean, there's those 3 teams, Penn State, Ohio State, Oregon, and essentially Indiana and Nebraska, in his mind, are battling for that 4th spot.
I'm still hesitant to say that
I
right now the
disagree.
Big Ten has 4 playoff teams. They have 3 playoff teams.
For sure. I agree with that. I think that
they have a tier where Nebraska and Indiana live of good football teams that could make themselves, with the second half of the season, very good. It's a Curiosity Bowl. Indiana, they want to know how good they are. They're 6-0. Great. The teams you've beaten in the Big Ten haven't won a football game in the conference. You've beaten one team that has a winning record in Maryland.
That's
fine.
Hey,
played
have you looked up Kirk Signetti? Have you looked him up before? Have you Googled him?
They're 6-0. I've said this repeatedly all week. They're 6-0. Kudos. You can only play the teams that you play.
Yeah.
But I'd even be curious if I was a player. Okay, now how good are we?
Well, I want to give credit.
Because now
I want to give credit to Indiana.
You play the most difficult team you're about to play, and Nebraska may be playing the most difficult team to date.
I want to give Indiana credit, though, in this regard. Cincinnati, right, when they made the playoffs, they went undefeated, but people still didn't want to put them in the playoffs. And I always ask, what? Well,
I think we're way ahead of Indiana being in a playoff discussion.
Wait. No. Let me get there. I'm making a different point. What does Cincinnati need to do more? And everyone said, well, they need to beat their teams in the the American Conference by more points. They need to be more dominant. Indiana has been dominant against the teams that they have beaten. So, yes, are they playing bad teams? Absolutely. But they're beating them. They're not getting into close games with these teams.
That's a fair evaluation of Indiana.
So, I agree with you. They've played cupcakes.
But now we find out the real
Now
Indiana.
we find out the real
Because we're going to find out the real
Curiosity
Nebraska.
Bowl is a beautiful way of putting it. It really is, because you're trying to figure out who's legit, because these 2 teams, I think Nebraska has the advantage in this regard. They played an Illinois team that people were like, should they be ranked? Like, should they really be ranked? Should this team really, like, they were
schedule?
They were a 7.5-point favorite, and they got punched in the mouth. They found out really quickly that, okay, this team really is good. They really do deserve the number. We really shouldn't be 7.5-point favorites. Like, maybe we should have been closer to that 3.5, 4 mark, right? They've already been hit in the face before. I like to think with this program and this coaching that they're not going to be hit in the face they're not going to be punched in the mouth by Indiana, and they're not going to take the fact that they haven't beaten anybody to heart or take any substance to that. They have a ranked team ahead of them. They know that they're good. They know that they're well coached. You would like to think, with a bye week as well, that they're going to go into there prepared and ready to what I expect to be a dogfight. I don't want to put a high scoring or low scoring affair title on that, but I think it will be a dogfight.
Sean will be disappointed. And the Tweety says, the last thing your young fill-in co-host, young Matt over here, needs is coffee.
I literally just took my first sip, Sean. So
brace yourself, everybody. Sarah Baker Hansen.
I just took my first Steve sipple of my coffee. Ha ha ha. Jimmy, can we get a put-em on the? There you go.
I like
Thank
that. That's more appropriate. Sarah will join us and Steve Sipple in the next hour. Young Matt filling in for Nick for the next couple of days. God bless our merry soul. There is Jimmy. You're keeping us young.
And that's what I take from this.
People are wondering if you are a younger version of Mad Dog Russo.
Yeah.
No. Maybe. I don't know. It's a compliment.
Think about it. Think about it. We're going to turn your mic off for about 15 minutes here.
Sounds good.
On 1620 The Zone. All right, time to welcome in our favorite foodie, your favorite foodie, who has got the essential list for you and more. Sarah Baker Hansen joins us, fresh from her return from Europe. Good morning. How are you? That was my bad. My bad. Good morning. How are you? How?
I'm here.
Yeah.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. How was Europe?
It was fantastic, as you might imagine. We had a great time. It was the longest vacation that Matthew and I have taken since we have been at our current roles at work. So it was a pretty well deserved break.
Fantastic. How was the food?
The food was amazing. I'm actually working on something about Naples, which is one of the places that we went, Naples, Italy, of course, where pizza was invented. And I had a short list of pizza before we left that I wanted to try. And I will tell you that we ate pizza every day we were in Naples, which, I don't know, might be my dream come true.
Same.
I have not eaten any pizza since I returned.
Oh, now that might be a tough transition.
Yeah, it's a little hard to go from pizza every day to like chicken breast, but you got to make the sacrifice.
What's the difference in the pizza in Naples compared to the great pizza places that you and Matthew like in this town?
I think there are definitely some crossovers between some of the best pizza in Omaha and some of the best pizza that we tried in Naples. But I would say that one of the things that really stood out to me was, there are no like heavily loaded pizzas with a ton of ingredients. Probably the pizzas that we tried that had the most ingredients, I would say there were 4 ingredients. So the crust, the sauce, what sometimes was tomato, but also we had pizzas with pesto, pizzas with, just plain olive oil. Like there's varieties in what that kind of sauce is, meat, and then like an herb. So they're very simple. And I would say the focus, at least in my mind, what really stood out was that every single one of those ingredients was sort of the best version of those ingredients. Like there was no bad ingredient on there. And so every single aspect of each pizza that we tried would have been delicious on its own. And then together, just absolutely stand out. I would say the crust also is a pretty miraculous feat of being probably the thinnest pizza crust in the center that I've ever had anywhere, but able to stand up to those toppings. Never soggy, just absolutely perfectly executed in what must be like a 1,000-degree oven. So just really fun to have those experiences. And I have some amazing pizza photos that I'll be rolling out on my social media later today.
And I will take in every one of those. Did you guys get a chance to have any pasta there?
We did. So we were also we went out, we were on the Amalfi Coast. So we took a few days and we took a boat out to the island of Capri, which is in the waters of the Amalfi Coast. And there, the food is much more focused on pasta and seafood. And so we had a lot of great homemade pastas. We had just some incredible clams and mussels. Of course, there were lots of opportunities to have just, the catch of the day, whatever it was, which varied every single place we went. And it was incredible. I think it was just, another one of the reasons why I love traveling is that I can come home and have these amazing experiences under my belt. So as I write more about food here, I can have knowledge that, really, really helps me become even more, hopefully better writer. Hopefully, those experiences pay off in the long run. But yeah, incredible food. And of course, we haven't even mentioned that I was also in Paris for a week.
Oh, by the way.
So the food there, just amazing.
Hey, as you return, and the last time we chatted before you left for Europe, we talked about Dumpling Empire. I don't know if you get a finder's fee or something as a recommendation, but more people reached out to us that after you reviewed it and our discussion on air that went and tried it out in Ralston to having the same experience that you had. So you have turned people on to dumplings in Omaha.
That's so exciting. That makes me truly happy because I really did love Dumpling Empire. And And, like we talked about on air that day, it's so fun to be able to have new and different foods in Omaha that we haven't had before. And yeah, I've seen more and more people posting about it on social media, and, everyone seems to be having such a great experience, and it really goes to show that they're doing it right. And I'm so glad that people are supporting it and going out and trying it.
We will get to publish at eater.com the 38 best restaurants in Omaha, which is kind of the list that we all look forward to, that we talk about a lot of these, and maybe some new additions. But I do have to ask you, and I know this might be as you're catching up, getting back into the U.S., there's a lot of great restaurants and a lot of great chefs and operators that open up in this community.
Yeah.
But it seems like we just went through about a 2-3 week stretch where some of our staples, whether it be meatball or even going back to like an old Chicago, have closed their doors. Any reason why we've gone through the stretch in this community of some well-known places that have shuttered?
Yeah, I mean, I've been seeing it too. I think everyone's been seeing it. And, I'm working on a story, more of a reported story right now. It's been a little delayed because of travel, and you can probably tell in my voice that I'm not feeling great. But about food prices in general, and sort of what's causing food prices to go up, why it's happened, how inflation plays a role in this, and how it's changed the food scene for both restaurant owners and diners, and also producers. So that story will be coming out in the next week or so. We can talk more about it. But some of my interviews have been really interesting, just about the choices that restaurant owners are having to make in order to keep diners coming in. And I do believe that kind of what's happened. I talked to an economist for the story, and he really said, restaurants aren't raising prices to make more money. They're raising prices to survive. And I think that really rings true as we see, Sunnyside on Center. We saw Mouth of the South and the old market close. Of course, Blackstone Meatball announced it was closing, and several others. Izzy's Pizza Bus was going to open a brick and mortar. They pulled back from that, and so I think you see that happening, and it kind of feels like we made it through COVID, and now prices have really gone up, and restaurant owners really are feeling the pinch, and diners are too. And my story will kind of talk a little bit about that too, sort of how the economy has changed, how people eat out, and the choices that they've made. And so, I saw this about 3 weeks ago before I left for Europe as a story idea, and I did several interviews then, and I've done a couple more interviews since then about this. And so I think that's a big part of it, is what I'm hearing. And a lot of people talking about it on social media, of course, as well. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to see. And we've had a flurry of openings earlier this year, and now we're seeing the opposite happen. So the restaurant industry is a tough industry. We know that. People work long, hard hours, and it can be a relentless business. And so it's tough to see, and it does feel like there's been a lot in the past couple weeks.
The people that you've talked to, and probably for the story, are there more fears there could be more restaurants following suit with the times that we're living in?
I think restaurant owners see the reality. I mean, I think they see the reality every day. Their margins are slim. I talked to a producer who's a pretty well-known producer in the city, who has been their main business used to be fully focused on restaurants, and now it's completely switched because restaurants, it's become much more difficult for restaurants to pay the prices to support the local farmers. And so it's there's a lot of balancing that has to come into this. And of course, consumers and what they can afford is a big part of it too. And of course, labor is a big part of it. And so it's a really nuanced story. And I think, I'm trying to kind of hit all the different aspects of it. Hopefully I'll be able to I will be able to roll that out because I have a deadline. But yeah, that'll be coming out in a couple weeks. But I could tell that there was something brewing. And so to do a story versus a review is kind of the direction that I'm going in the next couple of weeks. So you can look forward to reading a little bit more about what I found out.
All right, let's change this to a positive, because this is a list that you've done in a couple of different platforms, but on eater.com, the list that people look forward to because they respect your opinion and they know your style. the 38 best restaurants in Omaha, Nebraska. As I scrolled through this the other day, there are quite a few familiar ones that we've talked about that are your favorites, are my favorites, are listeners' favorites. There are some new ones, but before we get into some of the new ones, how do you go about putting this list together, or these kind of lists that you do yearly?
Yeah, these lists are fun, I think, to read for people. These lists are harrowing to put together. Because, you have to, on the one hand, there's some restaurants in Omaha that I think will always be on this list. And then there are other restaurants that kind of come up that I write about, or, that open, that you're sort of like, oh, wow, like this restaurant is to the level, right? This restaurant could be on the list, but in order for that restaurant to be added on the list, something has to come off. And generally, my editors at the website say, we want you to swap out a X number of restaurants. And so I have a task at hand that I have to do, and I did it, and I feel good about this version. This is, I think, the third iteration that we've done. And yeah, you're right. This is probably the most new places that I have ever added since I started doing these lists. And I do really believe pretty strongly that the additions this time around are really strong additions, and I feel like these restaurants really deserve to be on there.
All right, let's start with the old school, though. The places that have stayed on these kind of lists year after year.
Yeah. The list is, if you go on eater.com and you can see the list of best Omaha restaurants, it's organized from west to east. So, really the end of the list is going to be a lot of the ones that have been on there because they are old market staples. So Memoir is new to the list, and it is close to the east end of the list. But, staples, Vimert, Le Bouillon is a staple for me. I think it's a fantastic restaurant. La Bouvette, of course, M's Pub, the Boiler Room, all of those places are new. And then you get to some of the old ones that have been on for the whole time, ones that I wouldn't probably never even consider taking off, unless, something horrible happens, because they're sort of the standards, I think, of the culinary scene in the city, as well as Yoshitomo, which I think has been nationally recognized again and again for its incredible food. But, there's a couple new ones on there. I added Gather in Omaha. I feel like it's really settled nicely into the old market. If you haven't been there, I still talk to a lot of people who haven't visited. I really do think it's worth visiting. It's got a sister restaurant in Jackson Hole, which I've also been to that location. And I just think they do such a nice job of making it feel like it belongs in Omaha. And I think their food's really nice. I really like a couple of their cocktails. They make a great Manhattan. And of course, they have a whole garden where they grow fresh herbs and greens and other vegetables in their basement. So I think it's just a really cool restaurant, and I feel like more people should check it out. I also had a Dolomiti. It's new. It's in Millwork Commons, but I really think, talking about Naples, Dolomiti is doing it the Naples way. And, I really like that. I really like what they're doing. And I know it's been very popular. So I think a lot of people probably know about it, but yeah, it made the list, and I feel like it deserves to be there.
I see a lot of the old staples. I see Dante on there, which is out by me. We've talked about that before. In fact, that was one of your recommendations.
Yeah. Dante is really an interesting one, especially at this time, talking about that earlier, about that story about local producers. Nick Strawhecker at Dante is one of the chefs, I believe strongly in this city, that is the most devoted to using local products grown by local farmers. And you can see that on Dante's menu when you go there. And of course, you pay for that privilege, and you have for a long time. Nick's done things like, foraged morel mushrooms and various ingredients on his menu every year that you just don't see at other places. And I do strongly appreciate and believe that he is, devoted to local. And I think that is becoming more and more challenging for restaurant owners. So I applaud Dante for its continued support of that. And of course, the cuisine that comes out of the kitchen at Dante is it's always incredible.
I think this is, and I always look forward to this because there are the Omaha staples, and then there are some new places that have become very popular. Salted Edges on here, which has just been overwhelming, the response to that. But I also think this list kind of shows how our community is changing and growing, and I mean, we're a community when you put everybody together of close to 1 million. Is the different, whether it be Laotian or Thai or Indian, more of those restaurants are getting publicity and getting people in as patrons and being recognized by you.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think I added koji to the list because I think it deserves to be there. Omaha's only yakitori, which is certainly a cuisine worth celebrating. I mean, Kanar is on there. I think, some of the most wonderful Indian food in Omaha and just a beautiful dining room, sort of a higher end experience. And I added Khao Niao, which is a little tiny Thai and Laotian restaurant on 155th and Ruggles. No frills, but some of their dishes, their pad Thai and pad see ew are very good. You can see a picture of one of those dishes on the list. But they also do pho. They make their own crab rangoon by hand, and the filling has fresh pineapple or mango. They're very thoughtful. They're a very small business, but I know they've blown up a little bit. I mean, this isn't Thai or Lao or Indian, but I do think Everett's really deserves to be on this list. They're one that I added. I think they have the best wings in the city. I also really like Trax, so fair play. But I do think Everett's really deserves to be on this list. I mean, they brine their wings, they sort them by size, by hand, and they also have a really good burger. So, kind of this solid neighborhood under the radar bar and grill that I know more and more people are visiting and knowing about. But, a place like that I feel like is a really nice addition to a list that's mostly higher end, kind of higher priced restaurants. I like to have a little hole-in-the-wall bar and grill in there just to mix things up.
It's a great cross-section. I always look forward to this. People can find it on your social media channels or on eater.com. Welcome back, and look forward to reading the article about the changing restaurant industry. I'm looking forward to that.
We'll have a lot to talk about in 2 weeks.
Hey, thanks, Sarah.
Thanks. Talk to you soon.
That's Sarah Baker Hansen. Again, that's at eater.com. Good cross-section of the town. You can go to Everett's, which is over on 88th and Maple, or go out to Dante, or go down to the Old Market. Bagel Bin is on this.
I've been there. That was a recommendation from you. So
Young Matt, that would be a good place to put on your Omaha list.
I would love an Omaha list. I actually would really like a list from you or Jimmy or whoever of places that maybe I could go and eat. Or
if
whatever.
you like breakfast, talk to him because he sent me to some bangers.
I'm not the biggest breakfast guy.
Because you don't usually get up until like noon.
No, I'm pretty early. I'm pretty early, dude. I like my coffee. I just like I eat coffee and 3 eggs. That's it.
Damn.
Maybe an avocado and a banana. That's just my breakfast every day.
I just have the coffee and my meds.
What's your go-to place in Lincoln when you were in college?
Ooh, that's a great question. Coffee House. Loved going to Coffee House over on O. Or no, that was on P. Also Bagels and Joe's, which is kind of on that right ahead of the Union. That was great too. I like to get food from Coffee House, but I like to get my coffee from Bagels and Joe's. Penelope's little cafe. That was, my diner spot. If I ever actually went to like a diner, I went to Penelope's. So yeah,
those are kind of off the beaten path. Not as well known to non-Lincoln people.
To non-Lincoln people, yeah.
I like this though. I need to write these down.
There's Sandy. Kevin Suits has a really good spot that I went to. It was cash only, and you never know when they're open. Like you pull up there, and it's like you're rolling a dice. You're like, I don't know if they're like I went there 3 different times, and the one time it was there, and they had great pancakes. I think it was I forget Kelly's or Sandy's. It was one of those old
memorable to you. I see.
No, one of those old, like middle America name, like your mother. You're like Margaret or like Kathy or
my
Elise,
mom's name was Barb
or Julia. Or
Ethel?
Julie.
Esther.
I don't know. I forget. I think it's I don't know. If Suits is listening to this, he should send me a text and tell me what it is. He loves it. It's like his favorite place to go to breakfast. But that's
he's going to say Perkins or something.
Named after a
I love a Perkins.
Named after a Midwestern female name.
Yes. Yeah. Named after your mother or someone that this is mother's name. Is what that place is called. Let me text Suits.
Maybe that actually is the name of the place.
Your mother?
You're overthinking it. Yeah, your mother.
The whole time, the whole by your mother's house? That's the mother's house.
I would name, if I were to open up a restaurant, I would name it I Don't Care. So like that way, if you were to ask your girlfriend or wife, like, hey, what do you want to eat tonight? And they're like, oh, I don't care. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. We'll go there.
Love that place. Got good coffee.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Steve Sipple will join us next. He actually is the father-in-law of Matt McMaster, so that should be a good conversation. That is coming
It's
up
my
next.
fourth father, apparently, according to you.
I mean,
it's radio. They'll believe anything.
not that there's anything wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with it.
On 1620 The Zone. All right, Steve Simple will join us here in just a moment. It is Tina's, who my young friend over here could not remember.
Tina's.
Tina's is not...
According to Kevin Suits, best cinnamon rolls around is what he claims. They had great pancakes when I went.
These are all great things.
Tina can be a West Coast or an East Coast name. You said a Midwestern female name.
I just your mom's name. I do agree though. Tina definitely is more. Tina's from Staten Island. You know, she's from Long Island.
Not too far from where you're from.
Yeah, not too far from my home of Boston. She is
Worcester,
a
to be
New
exact.
England Tina. She's a New England woman. You know, she's a kindergarten teacher, raised her kids. Then she opened up a bracelet shop.
That sounds like a Bon Jovi song.
You know, it sounds like a Hallmark movie. She's that type of mother that doesn't like it. Like you're no matter what your girlfriend is, like no matter how she is or who she is or if she's nice, she just doesn't. Tina doesn't like your girlfriend. She loves her boys. She's got 5 kids, all boys. There you
Adam
go.
sideways didn't flinch.
Yeah.
Back to work that afternoon.
Absolutely.
I can see it.
Tina.
Especially lives on Staten Island. If you're going
Die
that
hard.
way.
She's
fan.
Tina's a Staten Island mother. Born and bred. Never left the island. Go Islanders.
Has a Mr. Met bobblehead on the mantle.
Knows 8 Mike, John, and Will Sullivans. Everybody's Sully over in Staten Island.
Does Bob Costas, as the Yankee fan, live on Staten Island who's getting crushed today?
Again.
Appropriately so. I think Bob Costas, I don't know why he is on the broadcast. I know he was doing stuff for MLB Network and he's been doing games, but there is no draw to him. I think the problem with Bob, and Bob had a rough night last night.
Again.
I think Bob's eyesight is not what it used to be.
Yes.
Because whether it be a fly ball to the outfield that you would think would be gone and ends up being a catch at the base of the warning track, or the ball that was hit back up the middle, a little blooper that he said was a base hit that Volpe lunges and makes, not a Sports Center highlight catch, but makes the catch.
Caught it.
And he didn't know if it was a hit or not. And then he roasted Gurriel. Hello. Look at Bob, the performance he had last night. He had a bad, bad night.
Yesterday, Bob Costas
should bring in Ernie and Chuck to do the games on TBS.
Hey,
and I feel bad for Darling. I like Ron Darling.
I think he's great.
I just think their whole coverage of the Royals-Yankees series, from the way it's been presented, like the directing, the switching, the camera angles, what camera angles they're using.
Yeah.
To the guys in the booth, and then to top it off, a whole half inning with George Brett last night. The whole half inning.
We tried to warn you.
It has not been good. But Bob Costas is absolutely getting destroyed today. He should just say, I got the pink eye from Sochi. It's come back. Because I don't think he can see.
So, with Bob,
his depth is off.
He reminds me of like those fans who go to Cubs games in Wrigley Field who really don't know baseball and they think every fly ball is going to be out of the ballpark.
Yeah,
like
that's
there's a fly ball.
When we get to September, that becomes a problem or October, that becomes a problem on TV.
Big time.
Like we need Bishop to call in and weigh in on this too.
Also, too, like yesterday, I was watching and there was a hit and it was a fly ball to center, but they zoomed in on the gap. And so when they zoomed in on the gap, I thought it was going to be a double. And like, I was like, oh my God. And like, there were runners on base there. And then it got caught. It was a terrible broadcast. Bob Costas, along with all these other guys, remind me, I watch pro wrestling. Okay. Like I like the WWE and all that type of stuff. And it reminds me of when, there are WWE wrestlers who are there all year and they're wrestling the whole entire calendar year, and you invest in them and you get to know them, you like them. And then out of nowhere, these big superstars like The Rock or John Cena, they just come in for like a couple of weeks and they steal the spotlight. That's how I feel about Bob Costas and Al Michaels at this point. You have all of these regular baseball announcers, all these regular football announcers.
Now Costas does do games from MLB Network.
But
he should not be compared to Adam Amin, who simultaneously the Mets and the Phillies are playing the Yankees and the Royals last night.
Damn good.
He had the sound of, Adam Amin I like on baseball.
There are guys who are better than them who are doing this more than he is, that people who are real baseball fans are more accustomed to. And
I'm with you, and I think we've gone past the point of like, is Costas a draw?
Not after this series. I think he's lost.
Well, I think Costas hasn't been a draw for a while.
You go back and watch the 97 World Series. It was awfully good then, but that's the problem. It was in 97.
I think this is the nail in the coffin. I agree. I don't think he's been as big as a draw over the last decade as he used to be. And I think this is kind of just the whole, and I think Al is getting there too with the Thursday Night Football. I think more and more people are kind of like, there's no more energy from that guy anymore.
Energy is the key thing. Like Costas, You would think he's calling game 141 of 162 last night
was-
For the
And
White
then-
Sox.
and then it would all of a sudden change.
Don't
his
Len
fastball is-
Casper's an awesome broadcast. Len Casper was calling the last game of the White Sox like it was game 7. It was awesome. I was listening to it. He's lost his fastball. A lot of those guys have lost their fastball. I'm of the belief that there are, and I'm not going to go on a tangent and
Please
say
do.
bad
You're
things
kinda
about
taking over the show, but that's okay.
Anyway, there are some older broadcasters who have been in this TV game for a very, very long time that I think it's just time for them to hang it up and time to let other people come on and time to let other people have an opportunity. I love Chris Berman. I love Al Michaels. I love Bob Costas. But we're getting to the point where it's like you're holding a pretty top spot and you're not doing the high quality work you used to do anymore.
I think the whole presentation has been really poor for 3 games of this series.
It's a letdown after watching the Guardians and Tigers before, and then you have Adam Amin on the other TV in our house, and it's just, and then Joe Davis afterwards.
Joe Davis is so good.
Well, and you wouldn't know that Joe Davis sees the Dodgers more than anybody else.
You wouldn't. Absolutely not. I feel like he's purposefully and he knowingly calling a lot of these Padres calls with more energy.
And he probably gets crushed by Dodger fans.
Probably, but he'll take it because he's.
But maybe the one thing that if I want to say something nice about Costas, he does not hide that he's a Yankee fan. I mean, you gotta listen to his voice.
No, I disagree with that because I think he's not hide. Like I don't think
He doesn't hide
hiding
that
it,
he's a Yankee fan.
but I think he's doing it subconsciously. I don't think he realizes that he's being ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't.
Walks in his Mattingly jersey.
It's not his fault. It's not his fault. It's not his fault.
Still can't believe that Stanton stole a base last night, and we didn't even get a taco. Steve Sipple joins us next.
Heck yeah.
On 1620 The Zone. All right, bye week ahead of Nebraska and Indiana next Saturday. Lots on the Hoosiers and Huskers next week in a big game that'll have a lot of national attention. Probably the same as Alabama, Tennessee, and Texas and Georgia. I would imagine that. As we welcome in Steve Sipple from Husker Online on 3 and 93.7 The Ticket. Good morning, Sip. You're on with myself and a guy by the name of Matt McMaster.
Hi, Matt.
Hey, Steve. How are you?
Good. Thank you. How are you guys doing?
Doing great.
Good. Do you two have history?
I don't think so.
No, we
Okay.
don't have any history.
All
I
right.
like Steve. Steve's a great guy. I'll tell you this right now. As a young guy, as a young part-timer, Steve, I thought I was afraid of Steve Sipple because he was this great, incredible writer. He could not have been more nice and more caring and more, I don't know, example. Like he's a great, Steve, you are a great example of how to be in press conferences and how to act as a professional. So I want to compliment you on that.
Wow. Thank you, Matt. I appreciate that. I did not expect that. I usually don't get any form of praise, so I appreciate it.
You're very welcome, Steve. It's kind of sad, but I will be here to compliment you more if you need it because you deserve it.
God bless you. I appreciate those words.
Of course.
All
Steve.
right. You've got your own hype man that's on 1620.
Team Steve Sipple.
Mid-season review. What's your vibe compared to the vibe of your readers and viewers?
Ooh.
Is it
Similar.
different? Okay.
Similar. I think, we've been around each other a long time, Gary. I'm probably inclined more towards optimism. I like the team. I like this team. And I think this is going to come down to, I'm also very grounded in realism.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say it's just going to be a lot of close games. You guys know that.
Yeah.
We all know what's going to happen. And in that way, we don't know what's going to happen in terms of outcomes, but we know Nebraska is going to be in basically every game. And I know you're thinking Ohio State, maybe not, but other than that, it's fun. It's fun because this team is very competitive. It's got a real defense that I think, could get better. It's already very good. I think it's trending towards, a defense that will continue to evolve in the direction of getting better. Now, you hope that's what the offense does too, and obviously the rough conversation of special teams.
Steve, listening to you on the various, platforms that you're on in the offseason, I always thought that you were a guy who I wouldn't say was, I'll say this, you're a little bit higher than most in Dylan Raiola. You definitely had more confidence in him, not only as a player, but as a leader as well, and talked about how his demeanor and how he was ready and how he walked into the building. Now that we're through 6 games of this season, is there anything that has surprised you about his play up to this point?
The only thing that's really surprised me is his struggle against Rutgers.
Yeah.
No, this is, and you're right. I was very confident in Dylan, Matt.
Yeah.
Because I know Dominic very well. And I think the big thing was going to Hawaii to see him in the Polynesian Bowl. Was around him a lot. Saw him not only in the game, but we were at those practices. So you saw so much. You saw when you're at a practice for a couple hours, and then you see him before practice, and you see him after practice. You see him operate during the practice with high level athletes. This is the Polynesian Bowl's 4- and 5-star guys. They're excellent, and to see him operate, anybody would have came away confident. He just comports himself so well. He's big. He's a big kid, so he's an alpha, but kind of a low key alpha. I thought that trait, that low key alpha, would work very well as a freshman coming in because he wouldn't try to take over everything. He kind of knew what to do, how to assimilate without being overbearing as a young guy. And then the big thing is, though, and you saw it in Hawaii. Now you heard about it. You've heard about it. He's just his willingness to prepare.
Yeah.
And what that does, guys, is it's hard not to respect him whether you're 24 years old or you're 17 years old. This is he's ready. He's very diligent and he's very serious. So he's easy to respect. So I figured all that would work out really well.
And the offense has the lack of consistent push up front or issues with the running back. They just when one's going well, it doesn't seem like the other, or when they're on the same page, it doesn't seem like it's sustained. But in terms of Dillon in this offense with the passing game and just the operation, what in the next 6 weeks coming out of a bye week where there's a lot of self-scouting going on, what do you think is an element of this offense that might be a tinge different from here on out, of something they've learned prior, strengths and weaknesses?
It's so hard to answer. It's a great question because that's the key question. I mean, I think it's a great question because they have to find a little something, or maybe the best way to answer it is the thing I'm always thinking in my brain, and I sometimes will say it, is I think they got to narrow the focus a little bit. That's like I'm a kind of a broken record because I feel like I've been saying that since the Pelini era, since Tim Beck was the guy. And I hate doing that identity thing. It's such a low hanging fruit. But I would say I'd like to see them kind of clear up their identity a little bit. They try to use a lot of guys. I'd like to see the ball go to fewer guys almost. I mean, get the ball to Nayor more, Banks more, Barney more. I always say Carter Nelson, but then when I do that, I start kind of doing what they do. I think they feel like they need to get the ball to so many different people. There's this need. They feel like they get the ball to Heinrich Harburg. I mean,
who needs a touch?
I wish they would narrow the focus a little bit. That's just now. Listen, I don't hear that from anybody. That's just my own personal opinion. But I'd like to see the focus narrowed a little bit.
No, I'm with you. I think the key word is like, can you split the workload among your main playmakers?
Yeah.
I think you and I talked last week. Langsdorff always had this phrase of, all right, who needs a touch when he was calling plays? And it almost seems like it can get into that. We have a lot of guys that do a lot of different things. Let's see if we can all use them instead of let's focus on our main guys and let's just feed them until they're full.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what I'm talking about. I get it at running back. Those guys are all they're all pretty even in terms of talent. They're different. They're all different. They're all a little bit different, but I get that. But nobody's really separated. I think it's more of a conversation about, like, I didn't even mention Fedoni, but yeah, I mean, and while we're talking about that, I would like to see Fedoni a little bit more involved. I think he has 14 catches. He's the 5th leading receiver. I thought there'd be more Fedoni. It's not something that I think is absolutely critical, but I'd like to see a little bit more of that. But I just would just wrap it up by saying narrow the focus a little bit.
We had a caller come in earlier, Steve, and say, Nebraska's 5-1, but he and other people that he talked to, it doesn't feel like they're 5-1. It feels like they're a little worse than 5-1. What do you say to that type of statement, to that sentiment? Do you think that this is a 5-1 team that's 5-1, or do you think that this maybe they've gotten away with some poor play in the first half against Purdue and they got away with?
I think it's no, Matt. And that's a good question. I think they're legit 5-1. I loved what Rule said earlier in the week, where he just slipped stuff into conversation, but he said that Illinois loss keeps him up at night, or he loses sleep. I guess he said, I lose sleep over the Illinois loss. And the reason I bring that up is because they're close to being 6-0. I mean, So yeah, I think 5-1's legitimate if you can say that 6-0 was, they have an overtime loss. 6-0 is very much in the cards. And I would tell you this: my biggest disappointment of the season was that overtime.
Yeah,
I was just incredibly disappointed with that, because I thought, here's a grand reset. I always look at overtime that way. It's just a big reset. especially when you're talking about a team that kind of struggled in the second half like Nebraska did. And I thought, okay, they're really going to dig in here. And they did. I mean, it was like Matt said, it was a debacle.
Yeah.
But no, to answer your question, no, I see Nebraska as a legitimate 5-1. If you just got to look around the country a little bit, it's 5-1. You don't see much dominance, is what I'm getting at.
Sure.
So if you're expecting a team like Nebraska to be a dominant 5-1, if you're expecting anybody to be a dominant 5-1, good luck. You're not seeing a lot of that out there.
So that night against Illinois was 31 points were on the board. Since then, 10, 7, still no rushing touchdowns allowed. What do you think happened to the operation of the defense post Illinois, where they got back to looking like they are, and it's maybe a different tone because Rule talked about Tony got out of his comfort zone. What do you think? What do you think happened post Illinois with defense?
Well, don't you naturally wonder, guys, if he was forced out of his comfort zone a little bit, maybe by the boss?
Yeah,
I think he was, which is fine.
Maybe. I mean, it's possible Tony did it on his own. Very possible, right? But it makes you wonder, that's one thing that definitely happened against Rutgers. I wonder how much of that happened against Purdue. I don't know that you had to do too much against Purdue. But I think that the players, and you heard this in the post game after the Rutgers game, I thought they kind of took stock of themselves after the Illinois game. And Ty Robinson talked about it. It was so great to hear him talk about it, that they were disgusted and with their play against Illinois. And why do I say I was kind of heartened by it? Because I didn't think that looked like what we thought this defense would look like. And they didn't either. Okay, so that's why I say I felt good to hear him say that, because I think as a collective, the fan base didn't really. That's not what they expected. And then the last two games happened, and that did look like what we expected.
Yeah.
So now they got big tests coming up, and they're not always going to hold teams to 7 and 3 and 10. They're not going to do that. It's going to be hard to do that against Indiana and Ohio State and USC. Really hard. But I'll tell you one thing: they're going to give you a chance.
Mm-hmm.
I would say even in Columbus, that defense I think is good enough to give you a chance. And again, I think it's getting better. So I'm really excited to see what that looks like as the schedule goes forward. But the one thing I'm going to do is guard against, if Ohio State puts a big number on them, I'm not going to say, oh God, I was wrong.
Sure.
No, because there's a huge part of the schedule left. They'll dig in and hold teams down. That's what they're about.
So I want to continue with the Tony White conversation, because you both brought up, getting him out of his comfort zone. I thought, Steve, that his game plan against Rutgers was a masterclass, and I was really impressed with his use of a 5-man front, right, and disguising that 5-man front, and really, I think, putting the Rutgers OC in a bit of a pretzel and forcing him to go away from Kyle Monungai, right, with the disguises they were using, and throwing it more with Ethan Kaliakmanis. And with White, if he's a guy where he's going to be a head coaching candidate come the offseason, do you have a read on that? Do you think that there are jobs out there that fit him? Do you think that maybe there's a number that Nebraska could give him where he would stay as the DC? What is your, do you think it's, hey, he's good as gone as this point at the end of the season?
Oh, I'm not ready to say that quite yet, because I don't know what's going to open. And
Sure.
I haven't, Matt, I'll tell you, I haven't looked at, I don't know that Tony White I don't know that he'll pop up for SEC jobs like Auburn, for instance. I don't, that's probably not realistic. There will be jobs that are very realistic for him, and we'll be having. It looks like we're going to be having that conversation again, which is good. That's what you want.
Yeah.
We talked about that last year. This is what you want your coordinators to be involved in those conversations. And you're right. God, he orchestrated a great defensive scheme against Rutgers, and it was executed at a high level. It was like you said, a master's class. A master's class is usually beautiful to watch. I mean, it was.
Yeah.
It was interesting. It was extraordinary in some ways to hold them scoreless down by the goal line, 6 plays, it's a 2, all that. Could even been better if Buford makes that pick. I mean, that's the one play where I look at it and go, God, it was so good, but man, he had that ball in his arms, and he himself said it was a good play. It could have been great.
Yeah.
So yeah. No, we'll be having that conversation with Tony White, and he has the feel of a head coach to me.
Yeah. And I think I think on Rule's staff, he gives guys responsibility where, they get an opportunity to act like a head coach in their roles. All right, Sip, bye week. What are you doing? Going out of town, hanging out, party, wedding, pumpkin patch, winery,
I'm gonna
Apple?
Party. I'm gonna party. That's what I'm gonna do.
Heck yeah, dude. I'll go with you. Where are we heading? We going to Tavern on the Square? We going to the bar? Where are we going, Sip? Come on, Sip. Where am I taking you?
No.
You got some years left in you. We can let's have a night. Let's party like it's 1982.
I don't have years left. If I'm out, I'll tell you something right now. If I'm out past 10, it's an extreme situation. I am visibly uncomfortable if I'm out past 10.
If Sipple's out after 10, something has gone horribly wrong.
Right. No, I know what I'm going to do.
Horribly
I'm
right.
going to watch Wisconsin Rutgers at 11.
Okay.
I'm going to watch Penn State USC at 2:30, and I'm going to watch Oregon Ohio State. And I might do something while those are going on, but next to nothing. Next to nothing.
All right, so we'll get you out on this. So, of top 5 teams that could suffer their first loss, would it be Texas, Ohio State, Penn State? You can say all 3, you can say 2, you can say 1, or you can say they're all going to win this weekend on the road or in a neutral site game.
Penn State most likely to lose. Ohio State, that 3-point. Ohio State's favored by 3, which I just regard as a joke. It just feels like easy money. I mean, Ohio State. If Ohio State wins by 13, I'm going to be like, what happened? What?
Sure.
Why didn't they win by more than that? Penn State, it's a great. I mean, think about what we're talking about. Penn State against USC in October. What a beautiful scene.
Mm-hmm.
Penn State, they got the 18th ranked rushing offense. It's a great rushing offense. It's better than 18th. And USC is the 87th ranked rushing defense. You know what the game's going to look like. It's going to be Penn State trying to hammer away. And then it's going to be USC trying to make explosive plays on the other side, because that's what they're going to have to do. Because USC can't hammer away at Penn State.
Nope.
They're going to have explosive plays. But what if USC gets up, 14-3, 17-7, and can't? Then it tests Franklin's patience level on offense. I don't know. I'm very interested in it because think about it. USC needs a win badly. They got 2 losses. I mean, what's it going to look like if USC loses again? You look at the Lincoln Riley tenure a little bit and say, okay, what's going to happen at USC? On the other side, if Franklin loses, you just shrug your shoulder and say, oh, it's another just ordinary kind of. It's a very good Penn State team, but it's still not Ohio State. So it's a great. I love those conversations. I love the matchup.
Yep. Sip, as always, appreciate it. Thank you. We'll talk to you next week ahead of what will be a big game in Bloomington.
Yeah, thank you again, Matt, for those kind words. I mean it.
Of course, Steve.
All right, we'll talk soon. Take care.
Thank you.
The best. Great guy. Love Sip. You were trying to start. Is there any history between you two? What type of leading question is
you
that?
were working at a different place in Lincoln.
We weren't rivals.
Okay.
We weren't in the same.
I know. We're all Nebraska nice in the media. There are very few battles. Maybe you youngins.
Yeah, I was trying to start
us vets. Us vets, we treat each other with respect. We sit at the same lunch table.
I sit at the same lunch table.
You
I
young
sat at the
guys,
Husker Online lunch table.
You young guys, man. Whew.
I had friends at that Husker Online lunch table was the lunch table I sat at.
See, Gary, you wanted media rivalries in Lincoln, people taking shots.
It's more the
there we
younger
go.
guys.
Yeah.
More the younger guys will go at each other in the Nebraska media.
I'm yet to experience that. I can't wait for it though.
What do you call Bigelow earlier?
Bigelow.
Oh.
Jacob. Biggs. That's what I've called him, Biggs, before. But he's done great. Bigelow looks awesome. Have you seen his last Instagram post? So
I'm not on Instagram.
He's not on the gram.
I'm
on TikTok.
He's lost a ton of weight. Strapping young man.
I've seen
Jacob
it.
Bigelow.
I'm envious.
I see
I know.
Jacob a lot in person. Yeah, he looks great.
He looks great. Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Inspiring.
Did you like his Instagram post?
Oh no, I got.
Did you share it?
I better have.
Did you add it to your story?
I gotta go back and see if I was a bad friend.
Probably.
Yeah.
That sounds like something I would do. Jacob Bigelow. Liked it. I liked it. You see me? Look at me.
Brian Edwards is a little bit later on the show. We'll talk some gambling. Make you some money.
Hell yeah.
San Francisco, Seattle tonight. Big game for San Francisco.
They need it. They've blown 2 terrible games this year.
Well, let's see. They've lost by 1. They've lost by 3. They've lost by 6. They got no CMC, and they can't score in the red zone. What else do you want to know?
That's it. That literally covers it all. And they screwed me out in my fantasy or my survivor pool.
Everybody did.
Terrible.
Bigelow's texting me now.
Terrible. He looks great.
Yeah, he did.
We got a nice little rivalry going. That's good. 16-20 the zone. Rush. You're looking at me perplexed. This is Rush.
This is a banger.
Geddy Lee.
Oh, my thing
Canadian.
was turned down. I like the song. This was in the Iron Claw, the movie. That was a great movie.
Also a great game. A quarter, you get a little stuffed animal.
Oh, the Iron Claw. See, that's a good one, Jimmy. I'm trying to get used to the Jimmy-isms here. It's I'm not quite in
You
tune
should hear the unfiltered
with the bang bang. You're a little bit too quick to the you're good and quick to the pull, Jimmy. I'm a little behind. I'm
being
half
old
step
has
behind.
its perks.
A little basketball news here. The Athletic has come out with their first mock draft of the 2025 NBA draft. Big day on ESPN for the NBAers. This is the first day of Shams. So he will be all over ESPN today.
Sham Charania, great guy. We work out at the same gym together. Talked to him multiple times. Super sweet human.
In Chicago?
Yeah, he lives in
I
that.
know.
He grew up in that area. He went to like New Trier, which wasn't too far away from where I went to school. And we work out at the same gym. And I saw him one day, talked to him. Could not be nicer. Very happy for his success.
At what point, where in the gym did you approach him? Did you wait for the locker room, parking
spot him?
lot?
No. So
When you guys were on the elliptical together?
I had seen him there before a couple of times, but I didn't want to. And a lot of people come up to him and say hi to him and think that they're like best friends with him, you know? And I saw him maybe 2 or 3 times. I didn't say anything because I didn't want to be weird or anything like that. And then I was doing a workout here, and probably just as how far away from you were, he was standing right in front of me. And so he like looked at me, and I went up to him. And I was like, "Hey, I'm also a broadcaster, really big fan." Really big. And I know his story. Like, that guy's a grinder. Like, his story of how he became who he is like total ground up. He wasn't given any of those contacts. Like, he just cold called people, cold called agents, and like built his own empire. Great story. So I was like, really admire like the work you do, whatever. Could not be nicer. Could not be a greater guy. So happy for him. So there you go.
Steve Sipple, Chicago.
What was it? What was his response?
He was like, "Thank you, man. Like, really appreciate it. Like, where do you work?" I go, and just talked about my,
ESPN
career or
1000 in
whatever,
Chicago.
and then just kind of talked about just all that stuff. And yeah, it was great.
Since your first interaction with him, has he avoided you when you've seen him?
No, we've said hi and
Head nod,
stuff or
no.
whatever. He called me by my name, like he remembered what my name was. So that was nice. I'm telling you, he's a sweet human.
Oh, you're
He's a
making your
very
way
nice
in the
guy.
world.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't trying to network with him or anything like that. I actually admired him. I was like, "Oh, great dude."
But
People
this is how
are,
networking works. This is great.
People are wondering, did you get rizzed by Shams?
He is a very handsome human. I'll say that right now. The dude is jacked.
Kay Adams thinks the same way.
He is. No,
That's an
like all
understatement.
that stuff. Like he's a big guy. Like he's like real aesthetic. Like it's handsome feller. Good for Kay Adams. That's what I think.
Well, they're not together,
Yeah.
but I think
she
likes
like-
interviewing him.
She's also from that area. I think she's also from that Chicagoland area or whatnot. So yeah,
You're going to see her at your gym soon.
no comment.
But on The Athletic, which Shams is not part of, but he's all over ESPN today because this is his first day at ESPN. They did a mock draft. Hunter Salas, pride of Millard North, now at Wake Forest, Gonzaga to Wake Forest, stayed in school, came back for another year. They have him as a first-round pick, 18th overall. Kalkbrenner,
Awesome.
49th overall.
That's way too low. Way too low.
You are winning some hearts of people that are
It's way too low.
conflicted listening to this show.
He is. I think a lot of people will talk about Luka Garza when they bring up like how Luka Garza. Wait.
Come on.
How Luka Garza was a 2-time National Player of the Year who ended up falling all the way to the 55th pick, who isn't even on the team anymore that drafted him, right? And they would say, "Oh, that's what happens to really successful 7-footers in the NBA." My counterpoint to that was Luka Garza was an offensive threat, was a major offensive threat. Ryan Kalkbrenner clogs up that paint and has incredible athleticism. And I think that as you get toward more and more athleticism in the NBA, there will be a resurgence, in my opinion, of bigger guys, of the need of 7-footers.
Don't tease me.
Okay, so that's the test case is Zach Edey with Memphis.
Yes.
To see how he is utilized and if that has any bearing on that position moving forward.
I think that
you could be onto something, but there's
you're
not
gonna want
as many of
more-
those guys. But it's not like Kalkbrenner is he's adverse to stepping outside.
He can move. Is he?
Oh, you're speaking to the choir here.
He
He's
can
going to be
move.
the 4th straight year. He's going to be defensive player in the year in the Big East, and I think it will be in the running to be the offensive player of the year.
I think that he is just because of how good he is on defense and that length. You're never going to not need length in the NBA. He's got it. So, am I saying he's a top 10 pick, is a top 1st round pick? No, but 49 is almost out of the draft.
It's almost close to Bronny James territory.
That's 6 picks away.
Cooper Flagg, of course, number 1.
He's
from Duke.
Incredible talent.
And then we live in a world where Rutgers will have 2 players that are going to be lottery picks. And Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper are 2-3 in the athletic mock draft. Yep, from Rutgers.
Wow.
But I think, what was Rutgers preseason in that poll came out last week of the Big 12?
They were
in
the 10, I think.
8, 9, 10?
8, 9, 10 area.
In that range?
They've done a really good job recruiting over there. But, as we all know, draft picks doesn't necessarily relay into college basketball success.
Exactly. Look at Nebraska from last year. 23 wins.
Yeah. Okay. I thought you were making a sarcastic comment. No,
Well,
you're absolutely right. Well, look at Duke. If it turned, Duke would win the title every single year.
But you know this because you like your basketball.
Yeah.
So Cooper Flagg will be one of the top players in college basketball. It'll make sense for him to be the number 1 pick.
Yes.
But not every great college basketball player has an NBA future.
Absolutely.
Because they look at you differently. And they're NBA because a lot of the times they're going to draft on upside when you haven't done much in college. And we all go, how did he go? And the NBA is looking at him much different than we've looked at him in college. And also there are places that you play in a certain system because that's what they need for them to win. But in the NBA, you would be a different type of player. I'm with you on that. Doesn't mean that Rutgers is going to win the Big Ten because they got 2 guys that might be drafted in the top 5.
For the number one guy that I think of, because I am a Bulls fan, is James Williams, he was in Florida State, 4th overall pick. Didn't even start, never started, but ended up being Patrick Williams. James Williams is the D end at Nebraska. See, I'm getting my Williams mixed up.
Much different.
Patrick Williams, 6th man, wasn't a starter. Had guys who were better than him, who his coach thought were better than him to be on the starting lineup. Ends up getting top 5, but I think. Look, Cooper Flagg is one heck of a prospect. I think that he's going to be really good for college basketball. I think they've, there's kind of been missing that awesome, exciting prospect on that blue blood team for a little bit now. You've had, Zach Edey.
Put some respect on Filipowski.
But Flip isn't. Flagg has he's got more of a draw than I think Filipowski. And like Dalton,
the average college basketball fan this year will
want to watch Cooper
hate
Flagg.
Duke.
Yeah.
But you will I like that Flagg kid.
And I think that's always great for the sport. There are a couple guys, I really followed college basketball like last year. Like I love Dalton Connect, and I could not believe he fell to the Lakers, at the pick he did in that draft. But
He's
wasn't
not even related to LeBron.
He wasn't this highly touted, holy crap, he's so good at basketball, high school
But
prospect.
he was a really, really good college basketball
Great
player.
college
That was
basketball
perfect for what Tennessee needed.
Yes, Flagg will be awesome for the game.
All right, that's Matt McMaster, young Matt. Jimmy is here as well. Brian Edwards, before we're out of here. Chris writes into the Equitable Bank inbox. Would beating USC make up for losing to Illinois? To me, it feels like the game that we probably shouldn't win, that if we did, would make up for losing a game we should have or shouldn't have. I very well may be proven horribly wrong, but Indiana, Wisconsin, Iowa all look like games that we absolutely can and should win. In this year of our Lord 2024 with Matt Rule, there has to be a point of a game where you win to show. All right, that's another step of progress. I mentioned it back in the 7 o'clock hour. You win a game you're not supposed to.
Yeah,
because Nebraska lost a game that they shouldn't have. Their problem was their locker room, not Illinois' locker room. But to show progress of where you're going, and also to get out of the neighborhood that you kind of currently live in, beat a team that either Vegas or what your eyeballs say you shouldn't beat, and you find a way to beat them. because it won't be next Saturday, because I think we've done a good job collectively. I'll give us all a pat on the back of not just going over the top on Indiana, of like, whoa. Okay, let's see how they got to 6-0, because that has been done to Nebraska. Let's see how they got to 5-1. That game, but there aren't many games left on the schedule, because I think by the time, if Nebraska doesn't stub their toe and they just continue to be who they are, which is fine, the USC game that line will be much tighter than you would have thought maybe before the year began.
Oh, absolutely.
So I don't know that'll be, well, that's a game that you shouldn't win, but you found a way to win, because it might be by the time whatever shape USC is in,
sure,
by the time you get to the middle of November, that might turn into a toss-up game, which would be a big thing for Nebraska. You'd be like, well, sign of progress. So really the only game to match what I'm saying is 2 weeks from now.
So USC right now, they play Penn State. Okay, that could be a loss. So then we're looking at what, 3-3 at that point. Then they go at Maryland. I don't know. You're going.
There you go. There's your.
Far.
You go ahead. Give me some James Franklin wine. But the runway at LAX is a lot longer than State College.
I mean, there's just a chance
you don't have to bus to Long Beach.
There's a chance that USC could be maybe 6-4, 5-5 by the time they play at the Coliseum.
And there'll be a lot of rumblings.
So at that point, if you were to beat a 6-5 team or a 5-6 team or whatever it may be, I don't know if that necessarily makes up for not beating Illinois and having, I'm not going to say they had the game in hand, but that was their game to win and they lost that. And I think it's a great question. Does it make up for the loss to Illinois? But if I'm being honest, I don't think anything makes up for the loss to Illinois. And what I mean by that is that's a really good team. You had them at home. You had them on the ropes. You let them go. That's just, you don't really make up for that. You don't really forget about that. Like Steve said, Matt Rule said, I lose sleep over that game. I don't think them beating USC at the Coliseum is going to make Matt lose any less sleep about those terrible 7 plays that occurred in overtime. So I don't think wins make up for bad losses.
Chris, thanks for the email. You can always email us into the Equitable Bank inbox.
Great email.
Here at 1620thezone.com. All right, quick break. We'll come back, sift through some tweets and some emails. Coffee. People have made suggestions about your intake this morning.
I only had one coffee. I'm a one coffee guy.
That'll change. Trust me, I used to be a one coffee guy too.
I used to be a no coffee guy, and then I got into this industry.
Too.
So maybe it will. Maybe as I get older, there will be more cups of coffee.
Wait till the other stuff it gets you doing.
Okay.
It's a Jimmyism.
I'm trying to catch up, Jimmy. I didn't get the playbook beforehand.
You'll be here tomorrow.
I'm scrambling.
Yeah, you'll be here tomorrow.
We're checking on the line.
Can.
Yellow. check.
It's mornings with Sharp and Handley and Matt McMaster, young Matt, sitting in. Why you always look at me like that?
I'm waiting for you to sign out. I don't know what I'm like.
That's
like,
a 10 o'clock.
You just like stare at me. You're like looking longingly into my eyes. I'm not used to that. Nick doesn't go.
You got pretty eyes. Nice, pretty blue eyes.
Wow.
Get lost in them.
Wow.
Boy, Shams rizzed you up. I'm probably not going to do that.
I might need to leave the room.
On 1620 The Zone. All right, welcome back in Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone, 1620 The Zone TV that has been introduced to young Matt today. Jimmy's. Yeah, turn on your mic over there. Thank you.
I can do it for you, but yeah, usually.
Sorry, Jimmy.
Yeah.
Don't put Jimmy in that position.
I know. I apologize. No, thank you for having me. This has been a ton of fun. Seriously, this has been awesome.
All right, we'll have you back tomorrow. Remember donuts, bagels? Coffee?
I'll bring it. Yeah,
we'll have the coffee covered.
Yeah.
Coffee's been great. Actually, there was some talk about maybe the coffee not being high quality here at the 1620 The Zone studios.
No. Host Coffee is banger.
It's
They've
been
roasting
really
since
good coffee.
1972.
No, very good coffee.
Sounds like an endorsement there.
Very impressive. I would love an endorsement.
One day.
I'm selling my head. If
Took me
anybody
2
wants to
years.
put a hat on my head, I will sell it. I will wear your hat. Every single
I
broadcast.
believe that might be illegal, but
Is that? Isn't that just a sponsorship?
you don't work here, so that's fine.
Isn't
Do
that
it to
just
yourself.
a sponsorship? Isn't that an endorsement you can do through the
What
station?
we're on the PGA Tour. We're driving NASCAR. What?
I'll put I'll put like QT
Stop while your
QT
head.
brand right here on
I
the
know.
shoulder.
You told me last night you love the patches.
Just make it blue for the Kansas City Royals.
No. Quick Trip's logo is red and black.
Mm-hmm.
Are you all of a sudden going to change?
No.
you-
I'm not saying for Quick Trip to have a blue logo. I'm just saying Kansas City should have gotten a blue,
But they got you talking about it, which is the point.
At the beginning of the year, it kind of stood out, and I was like, "Whoa, that just."
Yeah.
But as I've watched the majority of the Royals season, I don't really even notice it anymore.
People on the stream here, I can see. I'm just saying, just right here, just put a blue. If you just put a blue logo right here, it'd look good.
I think he's talking about a tattoo.
Tigers Indians tonight. The Tigers, if they win, they move on to the ALCS.
Which they will.
Guardians got to score some runs.
Who's pitching tonight for the Tigres?
I think it's a bullpen game again.
Is it a
right?
bullpen game?
I think so.
We only have a couple starters that are worthwhile in
Sure.
baseball anymore.
Yeah, I know.
But
the
Bibby
game's
is
changed.
starting for the Guardians, which is a benefit for them. They got to score some runs though.
They
They've
do
gone
gotta
20
score some
straight
runs.
innings without scoring. Royals got to score some runs tonight against Garrett Cole. They also got to stop walking people. Walker can't be walking. people.
It's just incredible to me that back-to-back starts, Lugo and Reagans both had up to 80 pitches by the time they were done with 4.
This pitch clock or not, starting pitching in the postseason has been really, really rough. You have very few starters, and this is kind of where baseball has been going.
Yeah.
Very few starters get to 5-6 innings. The thing that changes is the sport goes from 0 to 60 in terms of every pitch matters.
Sure.
But I'm always blown away, and A.J. Hinch was a little bit unorthodox yesterday. They made a pitching change in the second inning. They had pinch hitters in the third and the fourth. Is that managers will all of a sudden manage one way for 162 games and have success. And then when you get to the postseason, it is completely out the window, and they start doing things that they're not comfortable doing.
Well,
sometimes they get you in trouble. Sometimes A.J. Hinch is creates a little pitching chaos, unorthodox, and it works out for you. But momentum is everything. Like, look at the Mets. Mets just knocked off a 95-win Philly team that now is going to be like, what do we do? Watch what happens with Alec Boehm in Philadelphia in the offseason.
I love that. I didn't know that he said that, but I couldn't agree more. And I always think back to, Joe Madden and how he would manage those regular season games. And then once he got to the playoffs, it was just, he walked in and goes, hey, tonight for game 7, I'm going to go no matter what. Hendricks, Lester, than Chapman. And that type of thinking and that way of managing, right? Managing differently heading into the playoffs almost cost his team the World Series.
So last night, the K was rocking. I'd be curious. I don't know if it'll have the same electricity, but it'll be loud in there.
It will
They'll
have
need
to
it.
be.
They'll need the
No,
boost.
absolutely right, Jimmy. They're going to need it. I mean, to win tonight. And like I said, I truly do believe this. I like the Royals to win the series.
I like the Royals to win the
tonight.
series. I just said it wouldn't go back to Yankee Stadium.
If they win tonight.
Ooh,
if they
okay.
win tonight, I really like them in Yankee Stadium because I think
Because Chris
that
Chambliss doesn't show
that
up.
pressure, I think, like I said before, the pressure on Kansas City is way less than the pressure on New York. And I think that pressure, like it has over the last decade, will crumble the Yankees.
You told us a story about Shams. So Jazz Chisholm got the treatment last night. Everybody understood the assignment after he said that the Royals got lucky. So they booed him louder than
Rightfully
when
so.
they booed Robinson Cano. It was fantastic. And I'm appreciative of Jazz Chisholm because he played into it. Like, you could tell
Yes.
that he loved it.
Yeah.
He kind of had the Yankee swag.
You got to.
But then after the game, he said, "I've never heard people boo a bum before." It was also in Kansas City. It was one of the rare times that Jazz has actually been booed. Thank you.
Oh, that's pretty good.
But you told me that so you have an interaction with Jazz Chisholm?
So I went to a Wrigley Field game, and I was first row behind home plate next to the visitors on deck circle.
Mm-hmm.
And the Cubs were playing the Marlins. And so they had, the guys were right in front of me, and so they'd come up and they'd be swinging their bat, and I would say a funny thing. I was like maybe 18 or 19 at the time. We were in the night. It was Father's Day, and this was during the peak Jazz Chisholm Miami Marlins, pink hair, red hair, blue hair. And I go, Jazz, do you spin a wheel every week to figure out what it's going to be? Like, is that how you figure out how you put? Could not have been nicer. Was just like, yeah, that's how I do it, man. And then we had a little conversation. I complimented him. He goes, thanks. And people were laughing. He loved it. I mean, there were other people who were talking to him too that were right there, and he would talk back to every single one of them. So I'm not surprised that he enjoyed being booed at Kansas City. And you and I have talked about this before. Rivalries are great for baseball. Like, tension's good for baseball. People not like each other is good for sports. Like, it's good that he got booed. It's good for the sport that he got booed. It's good for the series and the attention.
I think it's good also the way he handled it.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm not surprised. Like I said, not surprised at all based on that little, he had 4 at-bats, so he's in there 4 times and people are talking to him. Great. I've always been a fan of his. Before that, I was an even bigger fan of his after that.
Look at you. Look at you as a heckler. You're a nice heckler.
I don't know. I like.
You aren't as good as the media says you are.
Here is Cole on the 42 Degree The Source hotline. Good morning, Cole.
Good morning, Gary, and good morning, Matt McMaster on 1620 The Zone in Omaha. Good for you, my man.
Hey, Cole, who are you calling? Where are you calling from, Cole? You do I know you?
Do I know you? Wow, how quickly we forget.
Wow. That wasn't cool.
My kidding. My former co-host, a great man, Mr. Cole Skuggenholz. How you doing, man? It's great to hear from you. This is a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, a little Bigelow birdie hit me up this morning and let me know that you may be on this fine radio program. So I thought I'd say hi. I realized, Gary, that I only call into your show when I am like at least 3 hours outside of Nebraska. I'm currently driving towards Phoenix to see my sister.
Oh,
we thought you were going to the Royals game.
No, unfortunately not. No, it's did not anticipate a playoff trip, so we're using fall break to make a trip out west instead.
Not to turn
How
this...
miserable is that to drive that far from Lincoln to Phoenix?
Well, what we do. We've got about 13 and a half hours left to go. We're gonna get there tonight.
And you got, all the kids in one car?
Yeah, it, Matt.
Jeez. That's gotta, I don't pity you. I don't wish we were in different situations.
Well, I did want to make sure I didn't forget to say thanks, Gary, for jinxing the Royals. We really appreciate that.
I got an email about that.
They're still going to win. I just said they wouldn't be going back to Yankee Stadium.
Well, now you're going to have to go back to Yankees. I don't mind the fact that it'd be Cole Reagan getting that start, but I would feel a little bit better if Bobby had more than one hit in this series. He's going to need to do something big tonight to get them to win. I feel like, and then you get to Game 5. Who knows? But would have felt a little bit better had they gotten that one.
Hey, were you surprised he didn't steal second base when he got on last night?
I was, as you can imagine, driving. But as it happened, the Royals radio network was like offline for most of that game, so I was listening to Fox Sports Radio instead, just giving me periodic updates. But yeah, he gets on. I'm like, great, he's going to steal second on like one of these first 2 pitches, right? Mm-hmm. And had he done that, he would have scored on Salvi's single. So he's got to pick it up. He has to be a superstar for them to get by the Yankees, I think.
So I don't mean to turn this in to an interview with you, but just quick question. Do you agree, and just real quick, do you agree that in my sentiment that if Kansas City wins tonight, that I like them to win the series?
Momentum is good as your next starting pitcher, and Cole Reagan is going to be the guy I would favor in that matchup, no matter who the Yankees are putting up. So yeah, I would say yes. If you get by Garrett Cole tonight, Cole Reagan can deliver them in Game 5, provided Bobby does what Bobby needs to do. Yeah, I agree.
There you go. Hey, good hearing from you. Safe
Great
travels
hearing
to
from you. Love you, buddy.
Phoenix, and we'll see you. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Yes, sir. We'll see you up for UCLA. Matt, are you actually in Omaha?
I'm in Omaha.
What the heck, man?
I'm here.
Hit me up.
Yeah, he has. He's done that to a lot of people today. It's really uncomfortable because I'm like the middle guy of people that I don't know that know Matt. They're like, hey, how come he didn't let us know he's going to be in Omaha? It's very awkward right now.
Uncomfortable for Gary.
Yeah, it is.
Jeez.
It is.
A lot of people want time with McMaster. I don't know, man. It just happens to turn out that
Good
way.
to hear from you, Cole.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you guys. Nice job, Matt. Talk to you later.
Who's doing that show? Who's doing the Saturday KLIN Husker show?
I believe it's Nate Rohr and Cole Skukenholz. Great.
I know, but Cole is away.
Oh, probably. I don't know.
Maybe you can come back.
I don't think they
because apparently you're in Omaha.
They said they don't. You don't think they want you back?
I don't know. I don't know, man. I haven't gotten an email or a text from that building in a while.
I've worked for some places like that.
Bernie says if Witt steals second, they walk Salvi. I think that's the main reason they kept him at first.
Maybe.
I thought they would take a crack at it. They need Bobby Wood Jr. and Vinny to get going.
Your superstars need to play like superstars in the playoffs.
That's what the Dodgers did last night. They needed Betts. They needed Smith. They need their big guys, Ohtani. And the Dodgers got it last night. That's the first playoff game since the playoffs in baseball started that I did not last all 9 innings.
Yeah.
And it had nothing to do with it's getting later at night.
Yeah.
Once it was 5-0 in the third inning, that game was over.
Well,
Cease was already out. He was chased early, mid-inning, two-thirds.
It was 5-0 for a while. They did have a run, I think, what was in the 5th or 6th inning where they had a chance to score and you were kind of adding up like, hey, they got enough time. But I was out in the 7th. After it became 8-0, I was absolutely done in the 7th inning. But playoff baseball, man, I'll say this right now. It's been delivering. These playoffs, I think, have been really, not only are they great matchups, two big markets, Philadelphia, New York, the Yankees, against David and Goliath, right? Kansas City versus New York. That's always a great storyline. And these games.
To spend a half inning on TBS last night with George Brett, you would understand.
You didn't like that?
It was a little, and I love George Brett. It just seemed like on a national broadcast of a playoff game to devote an entire half inning.
You do that in July.
To talking to George, yes.
Weeknight
but
game.
To be fair, the guy doing the play-by-play on the national broadcast was treating the game at some points like it was the middle of July and they'd just gotten out of the All-Star break.
Yeah, I think
Mama's
they're
family
just
follows the game.
I'll just say this. I don't think you'll have to worry about Bob Costas broadcasting too many more playoff games.
Damn.
I don't know. Seriously, this is not just a us three who don't really like his performance.
Take care of him.
This has been a national sentiment that people just have not been happy with his energy, with his lack of knowledge at times of what is actually going on in the game. And then, what happened on that double play with Stanton was, he broke Cardinal Rule 1 of broadcasting. You don't show, as a national broadcaster, you don't show bias, and he showed it. Big time, in the biggest way. He was legitimately upset. It was funny. When Giancarlo was walking off the field yesterday, it was like he was saying his eulogy, like, well, Giancarlo Stanton, he can't play the field anymore. He can't be in the outfield. He can't run. But I'm like, what can he do then? It was, well, when he
stole a base and he hit a game-winning home run.
And
it wasn't his fault.
It wasn't his fault. He had a great game. Good for Giancarlo.
Well, if they get him going, because Judge has been poor. Mr. May hadn't shown up in October, and that's not just this series.
I'll say this, Lindor, man. Lindor just making it. I know that the MVP is
awesome.
Is a regular season race, and I know that Shohei's got that wrapped up, but what he's doing in the playoffs and that grand slam and just the passion and energy he's bringing to that franchise.
World Series MVP.
He could be absolutely, Jimmy.
Hey,
absolutely.
He is likable. He's had a great year. They were going to run him out of New York last year. He was going to get Robert Solid, but he had a great year this year.
Yeah.
They're a fun team. They have a different vibe about them. I can embrace Frank the Tank. He's excited.
Yes.
It's the Mets are a story. I think the Mets story is better than the Tigers story.
I agree. And I do think it does have to do a little bit with the market, them being in New York
and the Grimace.
And I think that them getting a little bit more attention, and it gets a little bit boosted. You can't deny it does get a little bit boosted when you see McEnroe and Seinfeld and all those big boys. They're in the building.
Mr. and Mrs. Met are on
they're in Citi
the foul
Field,
line during
but-
lineups. Yeah,
but I think that and the fan base adds to it because the fan base was absolutely down and out on this team a month and a half ago. And now they have not only become this great story, they might be the World Series favorites right now.
I'm not going to disagree with you.
Anti-86 Mets.
It's like the Mets and the Tigers in this way are very similar, is teams that get hot.
Yep.
Teams that get hot at the right time. Nobody was going, guarantee. Arizona, Texas last year playing in the World Series. Look at the Nationals, for example.
Yep.
The Nationals,
Sure.
The Nationals struggled at the beginning of the year. They won the World Series. Now they got going to make it into the tournament. All you got to do is get into the tournament. And look, they were hot. They had a really, really good team that underperformed at the beginning of the season in 19, and they got hot at the right time, and then they rolled right into the postseason. And you also have this thing where I think it shrinks, even though your checkbook is far apart, where it shrinks the gap, like between the Yankees and the Royals, is teams that believe.
Sure.
There is no fear factor. People don't fear the Dodgers in the postseason. People don't fear the Yankees.
Yeah. Charles in the YouTube chat goes, how about Tatis? Absolutely, Charles. He's another guy who's been performing out of his mind.
That's been good for baseball. There have been young stars.
Yeah.
There have been ideal start times.
Yeah.
Where there is daytime baseball.
Yes. I love the 3:30 start time. I'll say this real quick because I know we're heading into a break somewhat soon. I was an
radio guy over there.
I was an anti 16 playoff guy. I did not like it. I honestly love the 14 playoff because I think winning division titles are massive in baseball in a 162 season. Now, I like the wild card game. So, I've been like, let's go back to 5. Let's just go back to 5. And they never will because of the money. But with what the Tigers have now done and with how the Mets have now done, I might be backtracking on that stance.
No, you know what they've done? They've ticked us Cub fans off.
A little bit, yeah. But I mean,
little bit.
How have they ticked you off?
They can do that with their decision making out of the front office and their roster.
I think, look, the story with the Cubs, and not to make this Cubs like talk or whatever, but
It's
it's been
okay, we
like
got a lot of them
they
here in
don't
this
they don't
building.
spend enough. The Cubs spend the 7th most payroll, and the top 6 teams who spend the most payroll in the playoffs because they're making the right decisions.
Smart money. That's how I look at my NIL. I got to spend smart money.
These 6 the Mets and the Tigers, with how exciting they've been and the stories they've created, and the 6 wild card spot the 6 playoff spot allowing you to get in, man. It's been making baseball more exciting. There's more exciting scores, and I think it's great for the league.
It brought baseball back in Detroit.
Absolutely.
Comerica Park yesterday. Beautiful place to watch a game, but it seems like it's a dungeon because it's just so spread out.
I don't
Yesterday
like
was a banger.
Comerica Park. I don't like that park.
I think you got to go see it in person.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
On TV, I don't think it does well, but in person, it's not bad.
At least they stick with it, unlike Camden Yards. At least they didn't change Comerica like they did Camden. Stick to your guns. It's ridiculous.
It's kind of like what we talked about earlier in the week when you play playoff baseball in September. You don't want to avoid those teams because those teams go in hot and nobody can match that level.
Nobody. You're absolutely right. It's all about, honestly, how you play in October is about how you play in September.
So you ready for Mets Tigers World Series?
That's what I was getting at. I could get down with it.
I would so dig that, Jimmy. I would so dig that. It's 2 franchises that have been, they've struggled. 2 franchises, 2 fan bases who are passionate, who've been in the dungeon, who've wanted more, who've had these the Tigers have just been bad straight up. And then the Mets have had all these expectations for years now and haven't been lived up to.
84 and 86.
I think an opener, a Gooden against Jack Morris would be great.
Oh, yeah.
I agree.
Brian Edwards is coming up next on 1620 The Zone. All right, Brian, who our listeners know, located in Florida. We may have some cellular issues there, so we'll get Brian in tomorrow on a Football Friday Fiesta show where Matt has been asked to come back.
Yay!
Do what you will with that.
I didn't think.
Yay, we had fun today.
I didn't think it would happen. I was real nervous.
Hey, could I convince you guys that the development of Dylan Raiola, because I think you're hung up on DR15 over there. You kind of did the old Greyhound on him after Saturday.
No, Greyhound. What did I do?
It's a bus. They have these things in the country. I know you live in an area where they have, the L.
Oh, someone said New Trier is in Chicago in the YouTube chat. Yeah, I'm aware that New Trier High School is in Winnetka and that it's not, or Wilmette, Winnetka area, and it's not in Chicago. I just want, someone's trying to question my Chicago card at the YouTube chat, and I won't take that. So I just wanted to get
You're a
ahead of
Skokie
that.
guy.
I am a Skokie guy. I am a Skokie guy, but I do know the city of Chicago well. Here's the thing with Dylan. He is a good college quarterback. And
who's played 6 games.
And
better than I expected.
Way better than anyone expected. And for a true freshman to walk into college, and basically every game that he plays has been the best team that he's played with how this schedule has matched up. Minus, okay, Purdue wasn't better than Illinois, but those first 4 games, right? It was an improvement from week to week to week. And so with Dylan, I've been super impressed with him, but I am the one, you are right in this regard. I am the one to pump the brakes just a little bit because I think that the 5-star hype and the arm and so on and so forth and just the expectations of him maybe make him think that, make people think that he's playing better than what he is. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think he's great yet, and I'm not ready to call him a superstar yet. I think he's been good.
I think he's been impressive. I think he's
impressive.
playing good with what the resources are and what they've allowed him to do. I mean, the most important development, I think, is the fact they're not a turnover machine. But what I'm leading to is, could I convince you guys that not only Glenn Thomas, who the running quarterback room is in a really good spot. All the quarterbacks that are in that room have made improvements.
Yes.
Now it's not like, well, if DR15 goes down, we're going to be fine. I mean, you would have a tier that you would drop down to, but the quarterback room is in a much better space than it's been in a while in terms of competition, just teaching, development from week to week. That not only Glenn Thomas has been vitally important to DR15's development, but also the defense. Because what if you walk in the door and you're a quarterback who they put a lot on his plate and they say, go make plays. And then all of a sudden, you're like, oh man, now I got to chase because I'm with a defense that has given up 17, 24, 31. And so I'm always chasing. Where you're playing on a team where the defense doesn't force you in your mind to go, man, we got to go. We got to high wire act, and I got to score.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, let's welcome in. We are hooked up with Brian Edwards, our Vegas insider. Hello, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, gentlemen. What's happening?
It is a great week of football, bye week around here, so we get to watch a lot of ball this weekend.
Yeah. And Nebraska goes into the bye week with a solid win over Rutgers. I'm fortunate to eke out a push there.
Yeah. You weren't the only one.
I did too.
All right, let's start with the NFL. The Broncos have played better. The Chargers have been beaten up. Broncos are a 3-point dog against the Chargers this weekend in an AFC West showdown. Where are we going?
Yeah, I made Denver a 3-point favorite, so I obviously like them as a 3-point dog. They've been a dog 4 times this year, 3-1 ATS with 2 outright wins. First 2 games of the year, Bo Nix threw 4 interceptions. They lost twice. The last 3 games, he's committed 0 turnovers, and they've won 3 in a row. And the Chargers, as you said, beat up Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater. Both their offensive tackles missed the Chiefs game. At last look, they're both questionable. We'll see on them. But, if they play, they might not be 100%. And Denver is 3rd in the NFL in total defense and scoring defense. And Chargers struggling offensively. I like the Broncos +3.
Commies and Ravens, and that's a big game, and people are starting to buy in and believe in the Commies, who are a 6.5-point dog against Baltimore. What do you like there?
Yeah, so I'm buying the half point from 6.5 to 7. I've successfully backed Washington 4 weeks in a row, and I'm going to stay on them. Defense, not that they played the biggest juggernauts of offenses the last 2 weeks, but the defense seems to be improving a little bit, and the offense under Jaden Daniels has been spectacular. And Baltimore has played 4 one-possession games. 2 of its wins came by 3 points, and I like the Commanders a lot here. Again, buying the half point from 6.5 to 7.
Brian, Matt McMaster here. Pleasure meeting you. Bengals, Giants, Joe Burrow. Bengals are only 1-4, but he's been playing like the best quarterback in the league. And the Giants, 2-3, kind of a surprise this season. Massive win over Seattle. What are you looking over there for?
So my main play is over 48. 4 overs in a row for the Bengals, combined scores of 51, 71, 58, and 79. Since T. Higgins has been back in the lineup, they have scored on their own 33, 34, and 38. So over 48 is my main play. If the Bengals get to 3, I'll take the Bengals, and I might even buy them from 3.5 to 3 if I can do it at minus 125 or cheaper. If it's minus 130, I may just make a small play on it. But I do like the Bengals if the number gets to 3 and it's not, crazy juice.
So let's go to college. And I was looking at this yesterday, and you actually, this is your favorite pick of the weekend. Cal off that loss-blown game to Miami. Now they go across the country again, slight underdogs against the road, on the road against a top 25 team in Pitt. This is your favorite pick of the weekend, Pitt. Why?
Yeah, so Pitt 5-0 both straight up and against the spread. Alabama transfer QB Eli Holstein playing great football, 1,564 passing yards, 15-3 TDI-NT ratio. Also has 265 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns, 5.5 yards per carry average. And they are 4th nationally in total offense. They are 6th in passing yards and scoring with 45.6 points per game average. Look, I would like Pitt minus 3 regardless. But then you add in the fact that Cal is making their 3rd trip east in 5 weeks and coming off just a demoralizing, emotional heartbreaker. But look, I would like Pitt minus 3 anyway. Now, I got 3. Some books have moved to 3.5, or I feel like most have. I would buy that half point to 3. If you're 3.5, I'd still play it, but maybe not as aggressively. But this is my biggest bet of the weekend. I like Pitt.
Vanderbilt trying to avoid that major letdown after their upset over Alabama next week or last week, playing at Kentucky. Where do you like there?
Yeah, so I feel like I made Kentucky minus 8. Oh, and by the way, I made Pitt minus 6 in the previous combo. But I made Kentucky minus 8. I feel like the letdown situation is way too cooked into this line. Now, I get it. It is perfect, quote-unquote, spot for Kentucky coming off an open date and with Vandy coming off its biggest win in school history. But I'm still taking Vandy. I'm buying the half point from 13.5 to 14. I'm just a Diego Pavia believer, and this is not a new thing. I bet on him a lot at New Mexico State. And, what he's doing is very surprising in the sense that I just thought Vandy's team was awful last year, and all their best players transferred. I knew Pavia was the man. I knew that. I just didn't think he had enough help around him, but you got to give the OC a lot of credit, and he's the OC that under Jerry Kill at New Mexico State. And, Clark Lee made a career-saving move going and getting Jerry Kill, the OC from New Mexico State, and Diego Pavia and Eli Stowers, the tight end, was another New Mexico State guy who's got 25 catches, 333 yards. I won't bore you with Pavia's stats, but they're nasty, and he's nasty. And I'm sprinkling a little plus 400 on the money line real small.
Ooh. All right.
Brian, Florida Gators go to Knoxville to take on the Tennessee Volunteers. This is a game where both teams really need a win, obviously for different reasons. Who are you liking in this one?
I got to go with the Gators here, and I'm not a Napier guy, but he's good as a double-digit underdog, 9-3-1 ATS and 13 such spot, and Florida's getting Eugene Wilson and Aiden Mizell back. Wilson's obviously their best player. And look, Florida, they just own Tennessee, man. 17-2 straight up, 14-5 ATS in the last 19, and both losses outright. They should have won both of those games. Blew a 21-0 lead in one of them. Yeah, and Tennessee's offense has struggled the last 2 weeks after looking like a juggernaut. 25 at Oklahoma and 14 at Arkansas. Give me the Gators catching 15.5.
Hey, we'll finish with this in the Big 12. I like the quarterback matchup in this game. Cincinnati at Central Florida, so they'll be playing in Orlando. And considering everything that has gone on in the last 24 to 36 hours in Central Florida, but two good quarterbacks in this game. Both teams need a win coming off losses.
Yeah, Sorsby's playing great football. Love that guy. 12-1 TDI&T ratio, 3 rushing touchdowns. UCF's obviously struggling, getting back-to-back double-digit losses. Cincinnati could easily be undefeated. Blew a 27-10 lead to Pitt with less than a minute left in the third quarter, and then they lose 44-41 at Texas Tech when they missed 2 field goals. And Sorsby, who's playing great, threw his only interception of the year, and it was like a 55, 60-yard pick six. But they could easily be 5-0. And my biggest concern all week was Corey Kiner's health. He left that, he's a great running back. He left the Texas Tech game after 3 carries. But he's back so far this year, 413 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, 6.2 yards per carry average, went for over 1,000 last year. I think Cincinnati goes down there and wins outright. Give me Bearcats.
Wow. Hey, great stuff, B. Thank you for your time. Enjoy the football this weekend, and then we'll talk about another monster weekend next weekend.
Thanks, gentlemen. Y'all have a great weekend.
And so Brian Edwards, our senior handicapper from Vegas Insider. You can follow him on Twitter at VegasBEdwards. All right, crossover is coming up next. Good luck.
Thank you. October 12th is like a holiday next week. That college football game slate, that's going to be incredible.
This Saturday.
Is it this Saturday?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm incredible.
And he's wishing you good luck on the crossover because they're
going to rip you apart in the crossover.
Are they?
Connor's got some
Josh
angst
and
after
Connor
last
are
night.
going to be. You ever put that Yankee stuff away?
Okay. I'm scared now.
You should be.
Should be. We'll see you tomorrow.
I can't wait. It'll be a good time.
That's Matt McMaster will be back in for Nick tomorrow. For Nick, for Jimmy, I'm Gary. It's Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.